Good morning, people. Good morning. Let's get into it. Welcome. I got to turn my other screen off here. Welcome to Objections. Let me bring in my first guest on civil law. What's going on, brother?
What's up? I'm here for some objection game. Woo!
Yes, we are here playing Objections again. How's your week been? Because it's been a really interesting break from the madness of
Hasn't been a
Depp
break.
trial.
Hasn't been a break. I've been on so many streams and live streams. It's like, I don't know if we took any time off at all.
Now, for those of you who are here, the game is going to start in about 10 minutes because we wanted to just do a couple of things. Just say hello, just walk through what some of the common objections were again, and last but not least, answer some questions that people may have early on. So, first, my name is Nate the Lawyer, and this is Objection. So, the way this game works, if you look in the description, the rules are in the description. Essentially, the way the game is going to work is that we're going to hear live testimony from the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. We're going to hear both the question and the answer in most cases. Then we're going to hear the lawyer give an objection. Objection here, say objection foundation, objection, whatever. At that point, the video is going to stop, and then we are going to pick whether the judge should overrule that objection or sustain that objection. And in the chat, now for you guys to play along with us, in the chat, there's going to be a poll, and we're going to play against you. And civil law is going to have an answer, I'm going to have an answer, and you're going to have an answer. And we're going to see if you can beat the lawyers. So let's play out the first one so you guys can see how this is going to go. So here is our first objection. Let me add this to the screen. All right. Now, in the chat, you should see a poll. It should say, here is the poll in the chat. This is not working, but you are going to have a poll in the chat. There it is. And now I got to redo the poll, but you're going to see a poll. I keep saying you're going to see a poll in the chat. We're going to see a poll in the chat. All right. Overruled. That should be okay. If it spells it right. All right. Now let's see if it goes. Come on. I see people say boomers. Good morning. All right. So poll in the chat. It's just asking, is the judge going to overrule it? Here is the first example.
And at 2:34 p.m., Mr. Depp texts you, steaks were excellent, pondering, though we'll likely have dinner here. Steaks were excellent, a couple of bottles of perfect wine. We then pounded an entire bottle of tequila, 3 exclamation points. Then the savagery commenced, 2 exclamation points. Good morning, 3 exclamation points. Did I read that right?
You did. And there's an X and facha after that.
Okay. And then you told Mr. Depp that you said, I prevented them from calling Popo.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. All right. It's also improper impeachment.
That's for the context of the text.
Now, as you see, the video stops, and we have a couple of seconds to think whether the objection is legitimate. And we heard a little bit of rebuttal for the objection. So, Kurt, what do you think?
Well, I think the judge is likely to sustain it. Me personally, I think I would overrule it because I think the response that it's for context is correct, right? Only hearing one side of a conversation can be difficult. So to understand why the texts are, and also not necessarily offered for the truth of the matter asserted, in that case, you're offering it to show the effect on the listener, right? Because that's the nature of a text message, right? So it's not that you're saying things that are true. It's just to show the effect it had on you, namely that you sent this text in response. So personally, I'd overrule it, but I think the judge is going to sustain. So how about that for a split answer?
Ooh, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure because it is hearsay. It's not a court statement, and I'm not sure what they're offering it for. So I'm going to say she's going to sustain the objection because it is hearsay, but I can see it going the other way. Let's see what the chat says. So I'm going to give the chat till the end of this break. I think
calling Popo.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
So now I'm going to end the poll. Let's see what the chat thought, even though I saw people voting before they even heard the question. So I might have to limit it. But chat says it is going to be overruled, 72%. So let's see who's right.
All right. It's also improper impeachment.
That's for the context of the text. And when he testified that he had prevented him from calling. Thank you, Your Honor.
The judge agreed with me. Oh,
Judge
nice.
agreed with uncivil. We got 1 point, and the chat. The chat said it would be overruled, right? So
Okay. Chat is
right.
smart. Chat is smart.
Got 1 too. So we got it. I set the stage, so I'm the one who lost. But
For the rest of this stream, I'm just saying what I would do, and then we'll just see what smart the judge is by comparison.
So simple enough, right?
Yeah.
It's simple enough, and hopefully we can have some fun. Now Saturday we're gonna be drinking. I'm hoping beer, not shots or half shots. We're probably gonna be drinking while we do this, so we're gonna be like, hey, objection, and if we get them wrong, we're gonna be taking swigs of some alcohol. But that's not this morning because it's 10 o'clock here, and I got to pick up children and stuff, so I need not to go to jail. So here we go. What else? Oh, okay. So the next thing I want to do before we start, so that is the game. And when we start the game, that's exactly what we're going to start. Before we start the game, I do want to mention just some of the common objections that we're going to go over, so we can all understand it and see. So what I'll do is I'm going to play my video from this morning. It's got the objections and it has examples of them. Now, this is so all you guys can get caught up real quick on what the common objections are, how they play out, what we're going to be looking at, and then hopefully you guys have a fair chance at beating us. So here we go. Let me play this. Well, shit, you guys are already beating us, but you got to have a fairer shot. I should say a fairer shot. Let me just pull up the list. Matter of fact, we can even explain it to them. I'm just pulling up the list of objections that are in the chat. They're in this chat too. Also, I'm talking about the chat. They're also in the description of this video. So the rules and the objections that we're going to be using are in the description of this video. So I'm going to share this screen so we can see. I'm having like the worst boomer moments. This is why StreamYard needs to get this a little bit easy. It makes this easier. All right. So here's the description of the video, and here are the objections. So calls for speculation. The first one, and that's the one where we're just asking the witness to give an answer. This is a pretty easy one, right, Kurt? Calls for speculation, asking somebody to speculate on something, right?
Yes. You don't know, you're trying to guess, and most often trying to guess what someone else thought or what someone else felt. It's like because you can't possibly know, but that's the most common example.
Next is asked and answered. Again, that's the same attorney asking the same question twice. So the second time you could just say asked and answered to help for judicial efficiency. Lack of foundation. If somebody's going to give a fact about something they observed, they got to explain how they know that fact, how they get there, what time they were there, were they able to see everything, right? That's foundation. How do you know what you tell? How can we be confident that you know what you're telling us? Or how can we be confident that you saw what you said you saw?
Yeah.
Is that a good enough example of lack of foundation?
Yeah.
It's a very common objection too. You'll hear that a lot. Leading is one that can be a little complicated because it's only on one side of the bar. So we're talking about leading questions are only on direct examination, not on cross. And leading questions essentially suggest an answer. As a rule of thumb, just for this game, you should think about it. If the question is, there's a difference between an open and closed question, and I hate the term leading question. I wish they would just say closed questions versus open questions. A closed question is a question that can only be answered with a yes or no, right? All the information is within the question. As an example, was the car yellow? You can only answer really that question yes or no, right? You can try to get, well, it's off yellow, but that's called a closed question. Either it's yes or either it's no. But you could take that same question and make it an open question. What color was the car? That gives you some wiggle room because now you can't just say yes, right? You have to say what you saw. So that's the difference between an open question and a closed question. And generally on direct examination, Closed questions or a no-no, or what they call leading questions or a no-no. You want to add anything to that, Kurt?
Nope, you got it.
Next one is compound question. You want to take that one?
Well, that's where you have two questions. So, did you go? Okay. So assume they said when they went to the park. And so I say, when you went to the park, did you see a band performing and did you see your friend there? Right. So those are two questions, right? Because if they say yes or no, it's not clear what I'm saying yes or no to. So have to break those apart. So if we previously established he went to the park, say, did you see a band? Or that might be leading in your example. So I say, what musical act did you see maybe? Or, I can ask in non-leading ways, but that's the idea. It's asking two questions.
Yes. Irrelevant or immaterial are things that just are relevant to the trial. You'll see a couple of examples of that. Non-responsive is that when I ask the question, you say something that totally doesn't even match what I'm saying. It's something totally different. I actually want to show you. There's a pretty good example of this. In the Amber Heard trial, where there's like a question where Amber Heard, like the questions like something like, was it sunny outside? And she goes into this like whole hour-long diatribe. So that essentially is that. I think I've lost. I think I blew it up too much. Here we go. Where is the description? There it is. And the last one is hearsay. And hearsay is not a court statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. That's essentially, when you're saying someone else told me something, right? Someone else told me it was raining outside. Someone else told me something. That's generally hearsay. Think about the telephone game. But there are many exceptions. And if you're not trying to bring it in to prove something is true, for instance, if I say, was it raining outside? And someone says, John told me it's raining, then that would be hearsay, because John telling me it's raining is trying to bring it in to prove the fact that it was raining outside. I think I might have explained that poorly, but that's generally the truth of the matter asserted. If the hearsay is being brought in to prove the thing to be true. So I don't know if it's raining outside. John does. So that's the person you need on the stand. Do you think you can give something better for hearsay, or do you think that's good enough?
That's good.
So that's where we're going with this. So you guys ready? Hopefully you guys in the chat are ready. Hopefully you guys are ready. And we are going to get this started now. All right. So, uncivil law, Nate the lawyer versus the chat. You guys know the rules. We've had one exercise. We're going to go through it right now. Get ready. Let me make sure. Poll in chat. All right. We are good on this side. So we're about to put the poll. The poll's going to go up after the question so people don't get too quick with it. And here we go.
I'd like to turn to May 21st, 2016. That was the incident that we talked about last night, right before we adjourned for the day, correct?
Correct.
You and Mr. Jerry Judge brought Mr. Depp over to the penthouses at the Eastern Columbia building that night, right?
We did.
And you knew that he was going there to speak with Amber, correct?
And gather some belongings.
Your understanding was that Mr. Depp was going over there because they both wanted to talk and calm everything down, right?
Objection calls for speculation as to what Ms. Heard wanted.
All right. What do you think?
Sustained for days.
Sustained. Call for speculation. I think it's sustained too. Let's give the chat 5 more seconds. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Ending the poll. Let's see what the chat came out with. Chat says sustained. That's going to be sustained. Let's see who's right. So we're all saying sustained.
Because they both wanted to talk and calm everything down, right?
Objection calls for speculation as to what Ms. Heard wanted.
I'll sustain the objection if you want to rephrase.
Boom.
That's right.
Sustained. So this is looking pretty easy. It looks like we're all getting it. But that was I think a give me. All
So
right.
it's nice to have an easy one every once in a while.
I'm seeing everybody. Most people I think got sustained. Oh, John is asking me this. Hold on, John. I'll hit you with the link again. Control C. Hold on. I'm just gonna send John the link. Get another lawyer in here that'll be beat up on. All right, John. Link is in the description again. I slipped. Did I mess up? Oh, yeah, I did. It's one of those things where when you send a message, but you forgot to press enter. All right, guys. Sorry about the wait. Just get sent John the link. All right, so now we're back. All right, so here we go. Question 2. Sorry. Here's John. Boom.
What up?
How's it going?
Here we go. We're on question 2. Throwing it out for the chat. Here we go. Objection sustained.
And you were in penthouse 3 for just about 30 seconds to a minute before you left again with Mr. Depp, right?
Around that time frame.
You don't remember what Miss Heard was wearing, do you?
I don't.
And you can't remember if she was crying when you saw her, right?
I didn't see her crying.
You can't remember if she was crying, right?
I just said I didn't see her crying.
She could have been crying, right?
Objection, calls for speculation, and asked and answered.
All right.
I would sustain on both.
Sustained on both we got.
Yep.
All right, so all the lawyers got sustained on both. I'm giving the chat. The poll is in the chat. Let's give the chat a couple of seconds. Will they sustain on both? So all 3 of us in the chat in here got sustained. Chat's 97% looks like sustained. But I want to give them one more second. And we're ending the poll now. 95% sustained. These easy ones. You got I think the chat's going to think they can do this for real here.
Crying, right?
Objection, calls for speculation, and asked and answered.
It's a different question.
Well, I'll sustain that objection. The next question.
Yes.
Objection sustained. Here we go.
She could have been crying. I didn't see her crying. Come on. Come on. Come on. You could have been doing lots of things.
Here we go. Next one.
And did Mr. Depp, based on your observations, Mr. Bett, appear intoxicated to you on May 21st, 2016, before he arrived to the Eastern Columbia building?
He didn't.
He did not.
He did not.
Did you ever observe anything that made you concerned for Ms. Heard's safety?
Objection, foundation, and leading.
I'm going to go with overruled. It's a foundational question almost.
Yeah, overruled.
It sounds like a foundational question. Sorry,
I mean, the
think
prior
it popped
question
into
sounds
the
like we already have foundation for this question. So
yeah,
it's not leading, it's
does.
pretty open-ended. So, I mean, did you observe anything that made you concerned for safety? It's pretty open-ended.
You overruled
Yeah,
it?
it doesn't necessarily have to be
Overruled.
yes or no.
Yeah.
All right, so K is overruled. Kurt's overruling it. John, you're saying
I'm saying
going to
overruled.
sustain it? Oh, you're going to overrule
I'm
too?
saying overruled.
All right. Let's go with the chat. Chat is 81% overruled. That's what we're looking at now. Wow. All right. Let's see who's right.
Observe anything that made you concerned for Ms. Heard's safety?
Objection, foundation, and leading.
I'll allow it if you can answer it. That's fine.
Boom. You guys
we
are
go.
like undefeated right now.
Undefeated.
Objection overruled. Somebody's got to mess up one time. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be the chat or is it going to be us? Somebody's got to mess up.
Oh, I'm going to drop one eventually.
The judge and I are going to disagree at some point. I already know it's going to happen.
That's exactly right, Kurt.
The chat is perfect, by the way. The chat is perfect. They've got everyone right. So we got to step up our game. Here we go, chat. New member, Kiki. Thank you. Sorry, Kit Kat. Thank you, Kit Kat, for becoming a member. Here we go. Next question.
Is Pirates 5 one of the feature films on which you worked together with Mr. Depp?
Yes.
Was Mr. Depp ever late to the set on Pirates 5?
Yes.
Do you know why Mr. Depp was late on those occasions?
Well, arguing going on between him and Amber.
Objection, hearsay, foundation.
Yeah, how would you know would be the better way to set up the foundation, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys, it's time. What do we think? Sustain or overrule?
See, this is one where the judge and I probably disagree because I think the judge is likely sustained, but I think personally I'd overrule it. But I'll go with sustained for the purpose of the vote.
Sustain.
I think the judge is sustaining, and I think that it's actually a valid sustained objection.
Okay, so me and John disagree.
No, you both said sustain. Kurt, you said you sustained.
Well, no, he said he said it was valid. I said I thought it was invalid.
Okay.
I don't think they laid the foundation for that question properly.
All right, so we got two sustain. Let's see what the chat says. Chat is end the poll. YouTube is ending the poll. Chat, come on, poll. All right, chat says sustained. So chat is even saying sustained. So we got everybody's in lockstep here. Let's see what the answer is.
Between him and Amber.
Objection, hearsay, foundation.
I'll sustain the objection.
Yeah, the judge is very friendly to those kinds of objections. So
I just don't know how he would know what the reason he was late was. They didn't set that up.
That's true. It's a great.
Well, they also didn't set up. Did you know he? Did you know he ever was late? Because that's the primary question, right?
Yeah.
Did you know if he was late to the Pirates movie? Yes. Yeah. So I was like, how would you know that either? So like,
you worked with him on it. I think that's probably enough. You could make that argument though.
Yeah, and then if like the answer to that is he worked with him on it, he might know why for the same reason. See, I'm not as irony about the foundation, but then again, it's not as used as much in my practice. So whatever. Maybe it's just a stylistic thing.
$5 super chat from Mata. She's uncivil law's female doppelganger.
Oops.
Here we go. Next question.
Strike that. Did you communicate with crew members on the set of Pirates 5?
Every day, yes.
Was Mr. Depp's lateness a problem for the crew?
Objection, calls for hearsay.
What do you think, Kurt?
I say sustained.
I say sustained.
Yeah,
I'm a little on the fence on that one.
Lateness a problem for the crew?
Oops.
Objection, calls for hearsay.
Hold on. Let me give the chat their piece here. We're ending the poll. Chat is disagreeing with you. Chat says they're going to overrule this objection. So we have our first split between the chat and but it's close though. It's 54-55. Oh, this is going to be good. Hold on. Let me get these new members. Thank you for becoming members, guys. Woof. Here we go. Membership number 1. Thank you, P. Fuss, for becoming a member. And there are a couple other of you that I am missing, but thank you. We're going to hear this answer. So this is going to be good. Thank you, Kit Kat and P. Fuss. Thank you, guys. Here we go. Oh, we got another. It says there's 2 memberships up here, but it's the same one. I'm like, what's going on? Why is it giving me 3? But I'm only seeing 2. All right, here's the answer. Sorry about that, guys.
I'll sustain as to what the crew may have told him.
Well, I was just asking the threshold question of whether he had spoken with the crew.
You're right. I'll sustain the objection.
Objection is sustained. All right, chat. But I can't knock the chat for that because they were 50. It was 55-45. So that was
I said
close.
that I was close on that one too.
Yeah. I figured it was hearsay because the only way he could know was from being told by the crew, which makes it hearsay because they'd be offering it for the truth at that point. So that's where I went with that answer. So
Can they play Amber Heard's deposition footage on? The question is, can they play Amber Heard's deposition footage on Cross? I don't think so. I think they can only read it, and they've only been reading it now, so I think that's the rule. Nick, thank you for becoming a member, and thank you for the new members. Thank you guys for becoming a new member. Stace on the case. Thank you for becoming a new member. I appreciate it. All right, so chat, you're losing by 1. Lawyers are winning now. Chat, you're down 1. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, productions, we usually stayed at nice hotels.
Okay. So is it your testimony that you didn't know that you were named specifically and the terms of your compensation and your benefits were in every single one of Mr. Depp's contracts?
Objection asked and answered several times, Your Honor.
All right, hold on. Oops, I got to put the question in the chat. Boom. All right, what do you guys think?
It's a little tough without the prior testimony, but I mean, the way that he framed it, I'm presuming it's probably sustained at that point.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I think you need the prior question for this one. I think this was just a big grab, but yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be sustained because the way he kept saying, asked the answer multiple times, many times. Yeah. So I think that's where we're at. Chat is 83%. They're going to sustain the objection, so I think the chat's right too. So we all kind of went through this.
Every single one of Mr. Depp's contracts?
Objection asked and answered several times, Your Honor.
It has not, and
I'll allow it this.
They allowed it this time.
We got one wrong. Lawyers are wrong.
But that's because we didn't know what the one before was. Like we didn't hear the full testimony. So the asked and answer may be a little tough because you're only listening to that question. So you got to know if they answered the question before. Here's the next one. I think the next one's probably a better one.
Let's go to Pirates 5 in particular. I think you testified that Mr. Depp was he occasionally late a lot to the set?
I don't recall. I mean, he was late, yes.
There were days he didn't show up at all, weren't there?
Could have been, I don't recall.
And there were days that he didn't show up for 6-7 hours, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in fact, he wasn't showing up before Amber ever got to Australia, isn't that correct?
I don't know that.
Do you recall him going on a binge with Marilyn Manson for a few days?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Should be sustained. I don't know what this judge
I agree.
is going to do with that.
I agree, sustained.
All right, I got to give the chat a couple of seconds because it took YouTube a couple of seconds to load up the poll in the chat. So I'm going to give them a couple of seconds to get it out. I agree with you guys, but I'm just not sure. Quick super chat from quick $5 super chat. Let me read this one out. I should start it. Quick $5 super chat from Caleb says, "Are we saying if it should or if the judge will?" So we're trying to predict what the judge is going to do. So we're saying what the judge is going to do. That's exactly what we're doing here. So if the judge sustains it, we're right. If they overrule it, the judge is the ultimate arbiter of whether these objections are good or not. Warren Lee for $5 says, suppose JD had to pay a fine for being late and he saw the fine being paid. Is that would that be hearsay? So if John had to pay a fine and he saw the fine being paid. So if he had to pay a fine and saw the fine being paid, would that be objection? Would that be hearsay? I don't know what this question is.
If he knew that it was a fine, if he sees it, that's not hearsay. If he sees it being paid, I mean, he saw it. That's not hearsay.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Whether he know how he knows what it's being paid for is maybe a foundation question, but not hearsay.
Yeah, I mean, if he read the fine and you could get the actual document in, or whatever the the fine paperwork was as like a business record, then I could see a way to bring that in as not being hearsay.
Right now we have 54%
For a few
saying it's
days?
going to be
Objection,
overruled.
lack of foundation.
Do you don't
I'll
recall
allow it.
that?
Laos. Okay.
Yeah,
Objection
I
overruled.
figured she would do that.
All right. Good
That
job.
was already
chat.
relevance, but
Yeah, that's true. She overruled that objection. $2 super chat. Does Scary had to. All right. Here we go. Next question.
So you don't know what was causing Johnny to be late or whether he was taking a lot of alcohol and drugs?
No.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that you observed Johnny Depp talking with Sean Bailey after he came back. And let's go to that. You said there was a 2 to 3 week delay. In fact, it was closer to 5 to 6 weeks, wasn't it?
I don't recall what it was.
It's pretty significant when the entire crew has to stop for that period of
The
time.
crew-
isn't it?
Objection to Ms. Rederhoff's testimony.
He's objecting to the lawyer's testimony, saying the lawyer's testifying.
I'd affirm it.
I would, but I think she's going to overrule.
All right. Chat is saying sustain. Give him 3 more seconds. And ending poll, 81% say sustain.
For that period of
The
time.
crew-
isn't it?
Objection to Ms. Rederhoff's testimony.
All right, I'll sustain the objection and ask the question.
Go chat. Boom. Well, chat said overrule.
I just don't trust her to make the right calls.
Yeah, we do
You get on
disagree.
the
That's
airport.
for sure.
I thought it would be easier with the judge, but this is starting to get a little tougher.
And it's your testimony that Ms. Heard had a bad tone of voice with Mr. Depp. Is that correct?
She had a bad tone of voice with me.
Okay. In fact, wasn't Mr. Depp saying pretty horrible things to Ms. Heard?
I don't recall that.
Like, get fucked on set, get fucked with fucking James fucking Franco? Did you hear that?
I don't recall.
Did you hear him say, at least you fucking liked it?
No.
Did you hear him say, I bet you slipped a tongue in there and you liked it?
No.
Did you hear him say, make references to Amber's pussy and asking her if her pussy was wet?
Your Honor, lack of foundation,
No.
harassment.
Yes.
Yes. Sustain this objection.
It's also known as badgering. And yeah.
Let's end the poll. Chat is with us. Chat is 82%. They will sustain this objection. All right, chat. You've made your votes clear. Here we go.
Wet?
Your Honor, lack of foundation,
No.
harassment.
Did you hear any of that?
No, not that I recall.
Okay.
I'll overrule the objection. It's fine.
Thank
Next
you.
question.
Ooh,
Overruled the objection.
Okay. Wow.
Wow,
All right.
we're
The
all
whole time I thought she
wrong.
would get it right.
She overruled that. I didn't think she would.
Mr. White, are you aware that Mr. Duders apologized to Amber for Mr. Depp's conduct afterwards?
Lack of
After the
foundation,
Boston Pet
hearsay,
Plan.
Your Honor.
Both.
Yep.
Oh, this thing is not.
Yeah, I'm saying sustained there.
I'll poll in the chat.
Conduct
There it is.
afterwards?
Finally.
Lack
Sorry, gotta let the chat give them their 10 seconds. So, would you guys think? Sustained, right?
Yeah.
Lisa, thank you for the $2 super chat, Lisa. All right, chat, we're ending the poll chat right now. If you guys haven't voted, it's over for you guys, and it seems like everybody is with you with sustained. Every 88% says sustained.
of
After the Boston
foundation,
Pet Plan.
hearsay, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
See, it's
That's
nice when we
easy
get to a nice
hearsay.
little groove, yeah.
What was your understanding of why Mr. Depp was late occasionally on the set of Pirates 5?
My understanding was he was having arguments with Amber.
And the wedding that you attended, or the ceremony in Los Angeles, That was right before Mr. Depp was to start filming Pirates 5, correct?
Yes.
Is that one of the reasons Amber wanted to be married right then?
Objection, foundation, hearsay.
Yep.
I think it was speculation is my argument. But
I thought speculation would be better.
Yep.
I thought speculation. I don't know. I don't know what. So that means are you saying this objection is going to be overruled?
I think it's going to be overruled because they picked the wrong objection.
I think overruled too because they did. I agree. Uncivil.
See, I'm a slightly merciful God as a judge. Like, even though it's the wrong one, it's like, well, it was a different one, so I'll rule for alternate legal reasons. But you might be right. Yeah. All right. I'll say overruled.
I know the poll. Oh, the poll finally hit the chat. I hit it, and it just hit the chat. All right, chat. Poll is up. Sorry, took YouTube a couple of seconds to upload it up there, but it's there. Let's get a chat a couple of seconds. Yeah, I'm on the fence here. I think overruled because it's the wrong one, but I can see it being sustained because I don't know. Trial on bye week. That's right. Trial is on bye week. We're listening to objections, see if we agree. So here we go.
Final answer before you play it.
That's all right. Yeah, final answer. I'm ending the poll, and let's see what the poll says. Come on, poll. Overruled, 65% from the chat. Let's see what they
Wanted to be married right then.
Objection, foundation, hearsay.
All right, foundation, I'll sustain as the foundation.
Sustained
know
as the foundation.
Okay.
Huh?
You've known Mr. Depp for a long time, correct?
Yes.
And you've worked with him for a long time.
Yes.
Has any woman other than Ms. Heard ever accused him of raising a hand to her?
Objection, Your Honor. He's already asked that beforehand, and I will know the cost.
So we don't know if this is asked and answered because we're going to skip this one because we don't know what that previous question was. So we're going to skip this one and go to the next one.
I got to take a quick phone call. I'll be right back.
Asked and answered. Sustain the
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah,
All
that
Thank you,
would just be
Mr.
a
White.
guess, essentially, unless we heard the other ones before. All right, here we go.
Mr. Depp,
Fifth
how
one.
did you feel about your father when he left?
I was very disappointed in him because I started to believe that his exit was sneaky, cowardly. He didn't, when he said goodbye to me, when he left for work that morning, he just said goodbye, goodbye, Bob. No, see you later, Pop. That was it. Until I learned the truth from him.
And without getting into what your father told you, how has your impression of your father changed now?
Objection, relevance.
Poll is in chat. All right. I don't know. Because it is, to me, it's irrelevant, but I can see a relevance piece too. I can see how the judge could go either way. I'm a 50-50 with this one, but I'm going to say I'll allow it because I'm a merciful judge.
I'm going to pass because I know the answer. I remember this one.
All right. Chat says overruled. And poll. All right, here we go.
Impression of your father changed now?
Objection, relevance.
Your Honor, this is just an understanding of his perception of his family.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Whoa!
Yeah, I knew the answer was sustained. I remembered that one.
Sustain the objection. Yeah. It is irrelevant. Wow. That one surprised me a little bit. I didn't expect that one because it was like a little background, but maybe they just heard enough. Here we go. End of segment. So what did you think?
Fun, good times.
We actually the chat actually we all kind of tied up. I think we missed one, the chat missed one, so we're pretty much together on this one. We didn't. It was essentially a tie. Wow.
One of the things I think about, can we go full screen now that we're in a segment?
Yeah. Sorry, finishing this.
There
Yep.
we go.
Boom.
Yeah, one of the things that I think about, and it's interesting about all these trials, is just it's interesting how there's some gray zone in the middle of this, and pretty much all law, by the way. Like there's the edge cases, right? And it's interesting watching judges and their interpretations of things and how they interpret rules and how those differences manifest. Because generally speaking, for example, like I would not be a stickler as much on foundation. This judge really likes foundation. So like our rulings, if we were judging this case, would be probably very radically different on foundation cases, because it's not really that big a deal to me. It's a very big deal to her, right? So it's just interesting to see like what judges do and do not care about and how it changes style. So I find that interesting.
Yeah, I do, but I still think foundation is important though. I would be a stickler for foundation because I would need to know how you know what you're telling me, right? So I think I'd be a little bit more stickler. I think this judge is extreme on it though. This judge does not if you got no foundation, she's not letting it in. Yeah. But again, it's a stylistic choice, right? Because it's about style.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It is. What you got coming up this week?
I'm not sure. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in the queue that I could release. So I always keep a bank of stories in the YouTube queues. I've got like 15 stories I could release today. So I'll look through the list and see which one looks good today and release that one. So who knows? This will be a surprise to us all.
So what's your prediction for? All right. So just so everybody knows, this Saturday night about 9:00, we're going to be doing objections again. We're going to have a longer sequence, but we're going to be doing it. And we're going to be we're turning it to a drinking game. So Saturday night, 9:00, come play objections with us, but we are going to turn it to a drinking game. We're going to go on for a lot longer than we did today, but it is going to be fun. You in the chat are going to be able to play again with us and see if you guys can beat the lawyers, as you guys seem to be doing like every time we play. So this is starting to get frustrating. So I got to brush up on my objections too. This is starting to get
We'll
wild.
just make the chat the judge. Make them the collective wisdom of the internet. That'll be good.
That is good. That is good. So what do you think is going to happen next week on the trial? Because this trial, it's like, what do you think is happening next week?
Well, I assume all of Monday, Amber Heard will be testifying still. I assume she doesn't get off the stand, doesn't do direct until at least Tuesday. So the cross-examination is an interesting thing to contemplate, because the problem in some ways is that you have so much potential ground on cross-examination. It's like such fertile ground that you have so many different ways you can go. But I think you probably it's probably a mistake to try to hit all those grounds. I think probably you want to be a little bit more ninja-like on cross, get in, get out kind of thing. So like, I'm not saying it has to, end in, by the end of the day or anything, but like, I think I'd try to find the ones that I thought were going to be the most devastating and go with that. So it'll be interesting to see how Vasquez deals with this problem, because there's so many potential ways she can go, and what she judges to be most important, assuming that she makes that determination like I have, that, I can't cross you on everything. Then it'll be interesting to see which ones Vasquez chooses and how much Amber Heard tries to wiggle out of them. So that should be entertaining on a whole number of levels.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, see, I'm a commandments of the cross examinations guy. I don't know. You guys ever heard of the Irving Younger 10 Commandments of cross examination?
No.
Heard of it, but I haven't read it.
Okay. So that's I'm a proponent. You know what? I was actually, after the video, I was going to, because I got a video kind of remaking his video, but he does the 10 Commandments of cross examination. Matter of fact, since we have some time, we can watch a couple of clips of it. But he goes through cross examination and how to do it effectively. It's one of the best things that you can do. And so whenever I think about it, he talks about the tactics and strategies. He was one of the greatest trial lawyers that ever lived, supposedly. So, and he goes through how to do a cross-examination. He was going to all of the different schools, all of the different Ivy League schools, and he was giving this lecture about it. And it's pretty fun. I'll pull it up in a second. Let me answer these two super chats before I pull it up, because Amber Heard brought up Kate Moss, not Kate Barlow. She brought up Kate Moss, right? Yeah, she brought up
Yes.
Kate Moss. Throwing down the stairs. Does JD get to bring up AH's domestic violence about her ex?
We have a disagreement on the issue. I think at best, really, it brings in Kate Moss at best, because if it didn't open the door on the psychiatrist testimony, like, I think this judge is loath to open the door. And so I don't think it's going to open the door that wide. I'd be amazed at this point. I'd be happy, but I'd be amazed.
Yeah, I'm like you. I'd be almost shocked.
I'm gonna disagree with you guys. I think that, the fact that she brought up his prior bad acts herself, I think, is a much stronger argument than trying to bring it in through an expert.
That's true. Yeah, I agree, but because the testimony, she didn't say she tried. She said the Kate Moss incident, so she really didn't go into detail. So maybe you can get a recovery statement, something like that. I don't know. I think bringing up her past DV for what she said about the Kate Moss, she just said the Kate Moss incident without any more details. I don't know how far the door is open. I think you can get a corrective statement for that.
Through impeachment, you can try and kick it wider.
That's true. But we'll see.
I'm sure Vasquez will do everything in her power to get Amber Heard to open the door even wider on cross. It's like a really good litigator should be able to get some statement, extract something to open the door wider. There's got to be some way, in some version, to ask the question, Miss Heard, have you committed domestic violence? There's got to be some version of that would work in some manifestation. So that's where
that umbrella guy was suggesting that, the first time anybody ever heard about this Kate Moss statement was in the UK trial.
Mm-hmm.
And Kate Moss already disavowed it. So, there's some way that you can, I don't know, propensity for honesty, something.
Look, whatever they're going to try to get in, their lawyers are trying to get this in. This is Christopher Mayer says the foundation objections are more important to sustain because cross counsel is testifying so much in their leading questions.
That's how you cross.
Questions. Well, he's saying foundation objections are more important because on cross, if you do cross without laying any foundation, you can almost get in anything. So that's why he's saying the foundation is really, really important, because it's important for both direct, but it's also important on cross, because without foundation, you could just go anywhere. You know what I mean? I'm assuming that's what Mays is getting at.
I mean, hypothetically,
I get that point, but
hypothetically, foundation should not be an issue on cross, because technically speaking, the cross is supposed to be in the scope of the direct, and all the foundation would have been laid in the direct. So,
well, sometimes you have like sometimes the foundation you can switch. Like, say if you're trying to impeach somebody with something, you have to kind of lay foundation for that, for whatever evidence you're trying to bring in to impeach. So sometimes that may happen, but that's not the norm. That's only when you're trying to do that.
Well, I think that's where you sort of have the question of, I think what Kurt's describing is more an outside of the scope objection than necessarily foundation.
Agree. Outside the scope instead of laying foundation. Yeah. Next question before we get to.
It's also something as a judge that I'm not particularly favorable to, because I prefer that I prefer more open on scope, but that's again my preferences.
Yeah. In future games, can you include any lawyer arguments response on objections before we vote? That's what I'm doing on the next one. So the next one, we're picking all the ones with Elaine. So Elaine has some very interesting responses. Like, one of her responses was, Your Honor, I just disagree. And the judge is like, of course you do. So we get to hear their responses, and then we get to kind of judge the arguments. Like, is this one good and this one good? But again, there's think about this, people. 8 hours a day, 15 days. It's a lot of hours of testimony we're going through to get these objections. So, we'll find them. We'll find them. And I'm hoping you guys are liking this. But now, this was kind of our beta mode the first couple of days, because now we know, what questions, like asked and answered. We should have 2 questions, the one that was asked the first time and second time, to let people understand the asked and answered and things of that nature, or maybe even pull that category question out. So, we're all massaging the game to make sure we can give you something we're feeling. But I think this is good. What did you guys think about it?
I love the game.
I think it's fantastic. This is an absolute blast.
Irving Younger. All right, so you guys are going to have a treat today. We are going to learn the 10 commandments of cross-examination. Now, this is, I got it just to let you guys know, this is Irving Younger, and I'm trying to just get the 10-minute version. It's really a 45-minute video, but it's a 10-minute version. He goes through the 10 commandments of cross-examination. Now, I would say this. If you're any attorney, this should be like your number one thing, because everything that he's going to tell us is everything you've heard, just formalized for cross-examinations. So everything that we've been saying, you're going to hear him say, but you're going to hear him say in a different way. So let me
pulled it up and read it, and I agree 100%.
Here it is. Sorry. Google is selling me stuff. All right. Let me share this. This is again with StreamYard. StreamYard, you got to start reading minds. This is starting to get crazy here. All right, here we go. Irving Younger.
With these suggestions, I can virtually guarantee, not that you're going to be a brilliant cross-examiner, but that you won't be ashamed of yourself. You won't be a buffoon in that courtroom. Because I am so anxious that each of you be at least a reasonably effective cross-examiner, I withdraw my designation of these suggestions as suggestions. Instead, they are commandments. First commandment, be brief. That's it. Short, succinct. Remember, cross-examination, unless you are Clarence Darrow, unless you are Max Stoyer, cross-examination for the rest of us, however, is a commando raid. It's not the invasion of Normandy. In, out, that's the whole idea. Right?
How many times have you heard me say that? Cross-examination is a commando raid. You get in, you get the hell out, you do your damage, and you're done, right? We're not there to just sit down there and make it happen. We're there to get what we need to get and get the hell out of there. Am I right?
We are there just to go forward, ever forward. We're not trying to hold any of the territory we've got. We're not trying to occupy the beach. Just keep moving.
No, absolutely. I mean, you take the handful of the most salient things and you just hammer those down and save it for your closing.
That's right. That's it. So now you see you guys in the chat. Now we're teaching. We're going to teach you guys how to be crazy good litigators. All of a sudden, they're going to be like, we know how to do cross examinations. But
now
next
I
week,
want to watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
and let's not forget, next week when you're seeing the cross examinations next week, just imagine getting to see if they follow the 10 commandments. But the first commandment is very simple. You get in, you get out. Commando raid.
It's hard. It's hard for so many reasons, because you want to like nail them on everything. You just want to eat them alive. It's hard. And then even assuming you have the will to do it, then the ability to do it is a whole nother set of problems, because being able to narrow it down it's tricky.
Oh yeah.
There's so much incentive where you don't want to leave anything on the table or feel like you missed something.
It's tough. It's tough as a lawyer to abandon something, because it's like, but
I missed it.
So you will be brief. Second commandment. Short questions, plain words. Again, you've got to acquire the knack of asking short questions using plain words, because in law school, by and large, you have been practicing writing long sentences and using elaborate words, lawyerese. I don't know why it is that it is a custom among lawyers to speak and write this peculiar dialect of English that is known to nobody else except lawyers. So use short questions, plain words.
What do you think about the second commandment? Short questions,
I
plain
feel
words.
personally attacked.
You feel personally attacked about the short questions, plain words? Well, I
have you seen my videos?
I've seen your videos. But see, people need to understand why it's short questions and short questions and plain words. It's because the jurors aren't lawyers. They're regular people. So you need them to understand what the hell we're saying. That's why short questions, and you want them to be easy to remember. So you don't want to talk in that legalese and that vernacular. You want to talk just like regular people talk. And that's the way you win on cross-examination.
Yeah,
what do you guys
I forget the name of the book exactly, but one of the first books that we were assigned in law school was, lawyering in plain English or something like that. Mm-hmm. And, I think that's a big push in the academy, is to just use common vernacular instead of, fine, in your motions, if it's in front of a judge or whatever, you can do a little bit more, but
And the
in
funny
front of
thing,
jurors.
judges hate that shit too. They be like, "What the hell is this? I can't read this."
It depends.
Score. It's funny because I remember one of my first motions. Like I had done like it was like I was like right at the page limit. The judge looked at this like, listen, this is not going to work. This should be because the judges used to maybe 2 or 3 page, 4 because most of people don't know. Most of the motions they get in court are 4 motions. There's hundreds of them. You just literally put new names in. It's the same arguments and everything, right? They get denied. So when you do something new, they really don't like that. Like I took a 2-page 4 motion and made it a 15-page monster. They weren't reading all that, but that's kind of the way you got to have to learn to practice.
I feel bad for the clerks.
Here is his next point. All right, so that was number 2. We agree with the first 2. We're at number 3 now. Are you guys going to be great cross-examiners? Here we go.
Third commandment. On cross-examination, you will never, never, never ask anything but a leading question. You put words in the witness's mouth. That's the whole idea on cross-examination. That's how you control the witness. That's how you make it go where you want it to go. How often have I been sitting there in court when a lawyer on cross-examination stands up and says to a witness, "What happened next?" Oh, no, no. That's like saying to the witness, "Make a speech. Tell us anything you want." Only leading questions.
What do you guys think about that one? Only leading questions on cross.
Yeah, that is. He's right. The whole point of cross is to exactly put words in the witness's mouth. That is the idea.
Tell us what happened.
Basically, it's the lawyer testifying and them just saying yes over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just imagine, like, oh yeah. So what happened next? No, give a speech.
That was well done.
But you know what? It's funny because that's what happened at the Johnny Depp trial with I forget who was crossing. I think they were crossing the doctor. The guy was crossing the doctor, and he said, "What happened next?" I thought to myself, I'm like, "No, what happened next?" That's the one question you don't want on cross-examination. That's like, give me your thesis of the case.
This is good because I've seen like on a lot of like Ricado's streams, for instance, people are saying, leading all of this. It's like it's cross. That's the whole point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No,
people need to know that.
In cross, you're supposed to lead. You're supposed to absolutely feed the witness the answer in every possible way, and ideally phrase it in such a way that there's only one possible answer, so they give you the answer that you want. It is manipulative at its core. Go in, go out, go nuts.
$5 super chat from Objectionable Law. If I'm crossing, I try to wiggle in every single thing I can. Can't blame a lawyer for trying. Well, hey, yes, you can. You can blame a lawyer for trying because again, we're talking about commando raids. We're not in it to take over Germany. We're in it to get in and get out. That's all. That's what the cross examiner is doing.
And again, that could be a stylistic thing, but I think that it's way more effective because eventually the jurors get bored.
Yes.
And then they don't know what's important anymore.
On cross, which brings us to the 4th commandment. You will, on cross-examination, ask only questions to which you already know the answer. I will permit you to ask a question to which you don't know the answer if you don't care what the answer is.
That was the other exception.
But be awfully sure that you don't care what the answer is.
Yeah.
5th commandment.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
The 5th
commandment. 4th commandment. How many times do we see this one violated? How many times do we see, like I've seen this in Rittenhouse on both sides. They'll go in and the first thing they do is ask a question, and you can tell the lawyer don't know what the hell the witness is going to say, and then something happens, right? So why is this? Because I think this rule is violated so much by attorneys. Sometimes it's even violated by us. Why is this so important? Why should the lawyer only ask questions they know the answer to?
Control.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. It's all about control. You want to give the witness the answer. You want to force them into the answer. You want to force them into your way. You only ask questions you know the answer to. It's all about control. I am God. You will bow before me.
There's a whole series, and I forget who Elaine was cross-examining, but she goes, this is true, isn't it? And it's like, no. well, this is true, isn't it? No. And it makes you look dumb, honestly.
But the one great thing about knowing the answer to the question is it also gives you that impeachment. And a lot of times you'll see that happen. Like you saw that happen a lot with Johnny Depp and what's his name? Rottenborn. Rottenborn would ask a question. He already knew what the answer was. Johnny Depp would say something that he thought was different. We're going to the depositions because you said something different. So that's kind of the way it's been working for impeachment in this trial. Did you say ABC? And I'm assuming that's what you're going to see a lot of this happening with Amber Heard. They're not going to ask Amber Heard any question they don't already know the answer to. If they do, they should have lost the case because there's so much material out there that every question that's asked to Amber Heard, I would know the answer I'm expecting. What about you? What do you guys think?
Yep.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I was saying, I don't know if I said it on the stream before or if I was just, talking to somebody, but, my big thing with the Amber cross is just literally, go through each of these harrowing incidents and be like, and you didn't seek medical attention, right? Mm-mm. Because they would have had to provide the medical records in discovery. And so if they didn't, then it doesn't exist.
Yep. Law and Lumber, our brother from another mother. Younger is like watching Uncivil Law call out the dumb super chat questions. Uh-oh. You get feisty over there on your channel, huh?
Sometimes.
So is it anything from the gospel of cross-examination that we disagree with, that any of you guys disagree with? So far,
I like it.
Not
so far, it's pretty good so far. All right, so let me get two of these super chats in. Objectionable Law and Ashley Harrison. No, I mean I try to sneak in objectionable questions. Okay. Oh yeah.
Oh,
all right.
sure. Particularly if you have the right judge and you can get away with it.
Oh yeah.
No, that's true.
Mark says as an expert witness. Okay, Mark's an expert. I was trained to wait for an opening on cross to avoid being led. That's the battle. That is the battle. The thing is on cross-examination for an expert, the expert turns into just my shell because I'm going to be, it's all yes or no. If you try to elaborate, we're going to argue about you elaborating on stuff and get right back to yes or no. Yes, no, yes, no. Don't you have a degree? Aren't you a doctor? Can't you answer simple questions? Well, this is just a yes or no answer. And we get right back to it. I've had the judge yell at me like, yo, you got to calm down. I'm like, no, they got to answer my question. Let them explain. I hate the judges that let every witness explain. Those are the worst too. It's like, oh my God, really?
Yeah. Well, people get annoyed at it, but there's nothing wrong with opening your question with yes or no, this.
Yes.
It's annoying, but it's effective.
Here is thank you. Thanks guys for the super chats. I really appreciate it. Let's go to the number. Wait, number 4, number 5. I think we're number 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, is listen to the witness's answer.
Number 4.
And I want to illustrate that commandment with a story. Each senator had whatever it was, 10 minutes to ask questions of the witness, and then it went to the next senator. Well, I realized very early in the game that the thing to do was always watch Senator Gurney, because here was the camera on the fellow sitting to his right. The rest of the nation was watching that fellow, but I was watching Gurney because he spent the whole 10 minutes getting ready. He gave himself a facial, and he got the skin muscles nice and tight, and he combed his hair a little bit, and he made gestures at the television director to be sure that the profile was just right. And finally, the little red light went on, and Senator Gurney was on camera in front of the nation. I said, Mr. Witness, when you entered the Oval Office, what did you see? And the answer would come something like this. Well, Mr. Senator, I walked into the Oval Office, and there was the president, naked as a baboon, prancing around on all fours with the gemstone file in his mouth. Senator Gurney. Ah. And when did you next see the president? Well, that's not listening to the answer. And every once in a while, in a real trial, you will get an answer like that one. For God's sakes, be ready for it. Do something with it. You will be ready for it. You will be able to do something with it if you have complied with the 5th commandment. Listen to the answer.
Have you guys ever seen something like that happen? Where the answer comes and the lawyer's just like doesn't know what to do with it or doesn't hear it? Like they say like, oh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. It's like they just keep going because they didn't hear the answer. They were so interested in what they were trying to do.
I've seen it a lot in depositions where, either, your client will give an answer that you don't love, but then they just move on to their next question. And I think that's it's a matter of being too scripted in how you're trying to approach it. And, it's supposed to be, in some ways, a dialogue.
Yeah.
I've had a client basically admit this, or I was seconding a deposition where a client basically admitted the case, and the guy just keeps moving on.
Because he probably just he had a plan but didn't realize he had to listen to each question. It's having the overall goal but without looking at the specific goals. But I've seen it happen a couple of times where it's like, yo, that was a great win for you. It's like I didn't even hear him say that. What is the first you would ask? What's the first question you would ask Amber on cross? What was the first question I would ask Amber on cross? I don't know.
Are you a lying liar who lies?
No. I don't know.
Objection argumentative.
I haven't.
Are you on any drugs today that would make it difficult for you to answer these questions?
That's actually not that one.
That's interesting. See, I like to start friendly. Yeah, I like to start friendly and just build up because I want to get her into that rhythm that yes. Your name is Amber Heard. You work at but like just getting them yes. Because I like to massage them a little bit, and then we start getting into the juicier stuff. You admitted to punching Johnny. Yes, because she's already said yes like 20 times. It's easier for that 21st yes. Yeah. Right, that 20 to turn it to a no, it's a little bit more of a struggle. So I like to get like 4 or 5 yeses from mundane things, background stuff, things that I know are relevant, but I don't really care about what the answers. I just care about the yes. So that's the way I would do it. But I don't know exactly what question I would ask.
I agree with you.
Here is the next commandment.
6th commandment. Don't quarrel with the witness. When you ask your question and you get your answer and the answer is inconsistent with the rest of the evidence, contrary to the laws of the universe, patently impossible, what do? Sit down. That's the time to stop. Don't quarrel with the witness. Save it for summation. Because if you quarrel with him, what? He's going to get off the hook. He's going to realize he said something he shouldn't have said. He's going to explain it, and it just won't be as good as otherwise would have been. And in any event, it is unaesthetic to quarrel with the witness. 7th commandment.
Now this one is so true, right? Because if the witness says something and you've won, sometimes you'll hear the question too many.
The question too many, yeah.
Did you kill him? And the person says yes. Sit down, right?
Sit down.
You're good to go.
That's
it. Bro, game over. But then you'll have that one question where the lawyer says,
why?
Okay, why did you kill him?
Oh,
and then now you got the whole story. Okay, this is going to take about an hour. See, what happens is I was at a family barbecue and now you're into their whole story, right? Now you're in the whole story. Now you're trapped because the judge is going to say, you asked the question, he's going to answer it, right? Why did you kill him? That's a horrible answer. But in summation, you could say, did you kill him? Yes. Sit down, and then you tell the jury about the story, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Are you guys enjoying this? I hope I'm not keeping you guys hostage with this Irvin Younger stuff. But
I wonder how he distinguishes between quarreling with the witness and impeaching them, because ideally, at least in my world, you should have every question on cross-referenced with where the answer is. So if they give you a different answer, you can impeach them right away. So does that qualify as quarreling, or is that different?
No. Impeachment is different than quarreling. Quarreling with the witness is that one question too many. Trying to get that little extra out to show the witness is even worse, where your argument's not with the witness. So let the witness get off the stand, and you can just make your argument in summation. That's the thing. That's what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. When you've gotten the good information, there's no reason to try to seal the deal all in that moment. You seal the deal in summation.
Okay, cool.
Never, never, never permit the witness to repeat on cross-examination what he said on direct examination.
This is so fundamental.
Well, because as every trial lawyer knows, there's a kind of informal or unwritten hierarchy of probative value. If the jury hears it once, they may or may not believe it. If they hear it twice, they'll probably believe it. If they hear it 3 times, they'll certainly believe it. And if it's in writing, nothing on this earth will persuade them that it's not true. So, on direct examination, they hear it once. The light was green. Says, what color was the light? Green. Are you sure? Yes. Tell the jury again. It was green. Were you wearing your glasses? Of course I was wearing my glasses. And what color was the light? Green. Do you realize you're under oath? I know I'm under oath. And the guy sits down. That's the cross-examination. What does he accomplish? The jury's heard it 5 times. That light is green to the end of eternity now. Don't let the witness repeat.
What do you guys think about that one? Don't let the witness repeat.
Yeah, you got to be careful on that one for sure. Well, this is going back into the don't ask questions that you don't know the answer to, which again, your the ideal is that your cross-examination should be cross-referenced, should be a little bracket next to the question, which says exactly where that piece of testimony comes from. So the only reason you're asking this question, ideally, is because somewhere he has said something to the contrary of that, so you can impeach him. Otherwise, why are you doing this? So yes, he's right.
And it goes back to the sort of less is more, get in, get out.
Yeah.
Yes. Here we go. Good Logic is here. Hold on, Good Logic. Let me read these 3 super chats before I give you your proper introduction. First, Avenatti. I'm after Avenatti. This Av and Avini, right? Avini? I think it's Avani. Is it Avani?
Avenatti.
Avani. There's
Avani.
no T's.
Yeah, there's no T's. Avani. Read on Twitter that Camille didn't object when AH spoke of Kate Moss. Yeah, I wouldn't object either.
No.
Especially if you put something in.
Why would
There's some objections you don't want to make. Yeah, you're like, all right, yeah. I don't care with hearsay. Let that in. Yeah, let that in. So she can't bring up her ex drug arrest on cross. Is that correct? I read on Twitter that Camille didn't object when AH. Yes, so that she could. Yeah, that would be the. Exactly what you're saying. That's the reason why you wouldn't object, even if it's an improper question.
Well, no, actually, I don't know if this opens up the door for the ex. It may, but specifically, it gives them a chance to bring in Kate Moss to basically serve as a character witness with respect to their relationship. He dated Kate Moss.
Yeah.
And that way he's able to basically, now that she was brought up, it's like, I remember what happened with Kate Moss on the stairs. It gives him a chance to basically bring Kate Moss in there and say that he was a perfect gentleman. She still loves Johnny, like in, I guess, platonic way at least. So I'm sure they're happy to have her come in and be a character witness. And
it's exactly what you're saying. I think it's a chance. It gives them a chance to get it. Yeah, I know. I'm 110%. So, and I think that's what the question is essentially alluding to. Lean, in the UK trial, were the DEP team allowed to attack Amber Heard's credibility? Yes, but they didn't have all the bullets they have now, because since she wasn't on the other side of the V, they couldn't get like all the medical stuff and all that stuff. So they had to kind of massage that now to get that. So yeah, it didn't work.
UK
They
judge
just
looking foolish.
didn't have evidence.
UK judge looking foolish.
John, you are kind of cute. Here it is from Panda.
Love you, John.
We're making love connections on stream right now. Here we go. Well, I got a marriage proposal too, so I'm happy. We're all going to have new wives and everything, and at the end of this trial.
I need to leave right now before I get in trouble.
Oh yeah. Here we go. All right, so Joe. So this is Joe. Good Logic, Joe. We're looking at the 10 Commandments of cross-examination. Have you ever seen this, Irvin?
No, I have not.
Oh,
so far so good, man.
Is
so
it good?
far, they are loving it. Yes. So you've come on the back end. We got like 3 more to go. There's a full video that's about 50 minutes long, but this is a short version, so we can just get the commandments. So we've agreed with every single commandment like gospel. It is truly like gospel. So listen to the next one, and you'll see what we're talking about.
We move on to the eighth.
8th one.
The 8th commandment. Don't permit the witness to explain anything. Now remember, your cross-examination consists entirely and exclusively of leading questions. That's the 3rd commandment. So all the witness is being asked is yes, no, I don't know. Yes, no, I don't know. And you've got to be alert to that yes, but. Stop! Cut him off. You didn't ask him that. Now, of course, it's a ball game. Of course, there's another side. Of course, the other side will always have an opportunity on redirect to bring out the explanation. You play your side of it, let them play their side of it. If it comes out on redirect, it has the smack of an afterthought. It's not as persuasive as if it comes out in the middle of the cross. And maybe the other side won't bring it out because they don't know what the explanation is, or they're asleep at the switch, or something of that kind happens. And maybe the judge will interrupt and say, let him explain. Well, if the judge interrupts, there's not much you can do about it. But still, you play it the way you should play it. You conduct your cross-examination the right way, which is not permitting the witness to explain. 9th commandment.
What do you think about that one?
Damn straight.
Don't let him explain. He should have just said, don't let them explain shit.
Damn straight.
Straight up, yes, no, and if they say anything else, you yell at them and let them force the judge to let them explain. Now it's funny because that's what you guys were yelling about the cross-examination of the therapist, of Amber Heard's therapist. You guys kept screaming at, why did you let them explain? Why did you let them explain?
It was
not knowing the commandment.
Well, you have to not be afraid to cut off the witness if you have to. I mean, that's okay.
Yes. And I think that was some of the most frustrating pieces of the cross-examination that we've seen, is them allowing the witness to get these long, protracted explanations. It's just like, what are we really doing this now? It's like, this is cross. This is not direct. Sybil, I saw you shaking your head like crazy.
Yeah. Don't let them explain. No. Again, this is not within the theme of control, of you are my puppet, and I'm just have my hands so far up your ass that I'm just speaking through your mouth. So yeah, you don't let them explain. No.
All right, so here we go. We got 2 more to go. Let's do here. Boop. Joe, I'm gonna mute you because you got a little background noise. Sorry, if that's all right. All right, yeah.
Avoid one question too many.
Damn straight. Preach it, brother.
Don't
Preach
ask
it.
one question too many, but it's so hard to do. Okay? Because you'll always recognize one question too many after you've asked it. Okay? Always. You ask her, no, come back, but it's too late. It's out there. And instantly it becomes the one question too many.
Unless you say objection after you ask your question.
The only way
you object to yourself.
That might help you.
I'd object to myself to save myself on that
ask
one.
questions only to get what you need to support the summation. And the instant you're within hailing distance of having what you need, sit down, stop. Don't push it to the line, and certainly don't go over the line. The apocryphal story, which in one form or another comes down the generations. The prosecution's case rests chiefly upon the testimony of an eyewitness who takes the stand and on direct examination says, I saw it. I saw the defendant bite off the victim's nose. I saw the defendant bite off the victim's nose. Do something. Okay, the defense counsel stands up to cross-examine. And he does a terrific job up until the end when he asks one question too many. Just listen, right? Where were they fighting? Middle of the field. What time of day or night was it? It was high noon. And where were you? I was on the edge of the field. And what were you doing there? Bird watching. Excuse me? Bird watching. Oh, you were looking at birds. Yeah. The birds were in the trees, weren't they? Yes. So you were looking at the birds in the trees. Right. And your back was to the field where these people were fighting. Isn't that right? Yes. When is the first time you knew that something was wrong? When I heard the victim scream. What do you do now? Sit down. And what do you argue? No perception. His back was to the people fighting. He doesn't know what happened. Instead, the one question too many. Well, how come? If your back was to them because you were looking at the birds in the trees, how come you know, as you told us on direct examination, that the defendant, my client, bit off the victim's nose? How come you know that? And the famous answer was, oh, I saw him spit it out. And that's the kind of answer you will get every time you ask one question too many.
So,
yep, preach it, brother. That is
Yep.
This may be the hardest thing for a lawyer to do. This may be
is
the
hard.
hardest thing to do.
Yes.
It is almost an inhuman task. It is
Yeah.
almost an inhuman task. It is so hard because you feel like you're nailing the coffin shut and don't realize that you're opening it so often. You feel like, oh, you see the person's, that's how it feels when you start asking the question. And then when they start to answer, as soon as they start to answer, you're like, oh, I disagree with him in saying that, like, as soon as you ask it, you realize it. Frequently,
No.
I think
As soon as they answer, you realize it was too much. Yeah.
He gets 2 words in, and you're like, I suck. Oh my god! Not that it's ever happened to me. Never, ever.
The one question too many. So how do you know? It's like, then shit. Fuck it. Yep. He that's how he knows. He definitely told it to me.
This is the chance to give. This is going against the don't let him explain rule.
This is the don't let him explain rule. But the thing is that you think you got him, right? You think there's no excuse that's his back was turned. He's looking at birds. But you asked him that stupid question.
Well, and you saw that moment when Ron Bourne objected to himself, where you just saw his soul die a little bit.
It's a couple of more super chats. I'm not Team H. Please up the percentage of how tactically represent AH. Please up the percentage please up percentage of how to tactically represent AH. Lawtube is doing this less than 2% of the time. Episode on how you'd seriously cross Curry, Moss, and close. So, all right. So it's saying. So I'm thinking this is saying we're doing everything, but the problem is, all right. So like I have a video evaluating Johnny Depp's case in chief, but I can't do that for Amber Heard because Amber Heard hasn't put on the case yet. So when she puts on her case, then I think we'll start making those evaluations. But I think this person just doesn't understand the flow of the trial because right now, part 2 of the trial is Amber Heard. Part 1 of the trial was Johnny Depp. So that's probably where you're seeing us focusing a lot on Johnny Depp because he's the one putting on the case now. And next we'll look at Amber Heard because she's going to be her putting on the case. Does that make sense, guys, or no?
Yeah.
Also, I think part of the question was. Sorry, go ahead, Kurt.
No, that's fine.
No, my thought there is I think that it's sort of how would you try and put on her case, and it's a tough one. I mean, I think that the argument basically would come down to if he ever did anything to her, it's true, and there we go. That's the only way that you can argue it. Otherwise, unless you go straight technical.
It's not straight technical. But along the lines of technical, the way that I actually heard when I was reviewing the cross-examination of Johnny Depp, I figured out what exactly they're going to do. They kept asking him, and Johnny admitted over and over again that everything started spiraling out of control with his reputation when she filed for divorce. Then she writes this article 2 years later. When she writes this article 2 years later, if you read the article, which I actually read on the air yesterday, I went through it, there's not that many statements about abuse that she suffered. It's really the headline. It's really that headline, which we assume that by law she's adopted. Now, trust me, I'm as strong team of Johnny as anyone. But when I thought this through, I was like, that's a scary argument that she can make. And that's this. The article has that headline saying, I spoke out against sexual abuse and I was punished for it. That has to change. If you read what she's saying and you read the context of the whole article is an advocacy about the Me Too movement, and we have to enable women to speak up without being punished for it. And if you really understand what the article is about, you can make a very strong argument that this article is not talking really, it is about Johnny Depp. Her personal life is about Johnny Depp. But the explanation I gave is, let's assume that today I was to tell a whole story about me being abducted by aliens. And I get discredited. Everyone looks at me like I'm a crazy person. I can't believe I ever followed Joe. Good logic. He's a lunatic. He thinks he was abducted by aliens. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then 2 years from now, I write an article saying, I talked out about my abduction by aliens and my life was ruined by it. So that article is true, even though my story about being abducted by aliens is complete BS. So if I say, we need to change a world where I can't talk about being abducted by aliens without being trivialized, and I say this is what happened, this is what I spoke about, and I got trivialized. And in that case, yeah, you know what? Even if the original story is complete bunk, and her story, so similarly, my story about being abducted is complete bunk. Amber's original story about Johnny engaging in DV is complete bunk, but really much of it she told at trial, right? Much of it she told under the auspices of the privilege of litigation. So now in this article, she's saying it's wrong that if a woman talks about domestic violence, she gets trivialized. So even if her story was complete BS and a complete lie, this Washington Post article, which is the only thing that he can sue her for, is actually completely true.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on one legal point. Mm-hmm. Your hypothetical said abducted by aliens. Mm-hmm. So if there are aliens who can sue for defamation and that didn't happen, I believe they would have a claim in your scenario, right? If the guy's name was John Alien, mm-hmm. and she said John Alien abducted me and we got the whole abduction story and she wrote, this whole abduction story, then John Alien, I think, would have a defamation case because if John Alien can prove that he didn't abduct her. See, in your
Why?
story, what you've done,
Why?
in your
Why?
story, what you've done, if you've created alien, but there are no aliens. In this situation, I'm saying the aliens would be Johnny Depp.
My focus.
So that's why
my focus
Johnny
is,
Depp is
my
the
focus
one who.
is that there's nothing untrue in that article that I'm writing 2 years later. I'm writing about a lie that I told. I'm writing about a lie that I told, a complete and total lie that I told. But when I'm writing this article, in that case, there's really nothing untrue. I'm basically saying when I spoke out about these aliens, I was humiliated for it. And that's actually true, even though, it was an utter lie when I first spoke out about it. And it's not a hyper technical thing to say that the article itself is true.
Yeah, but that's my disagreement with you is the subject of the article is Johnny Depp. Like the subject of your hypothetical is the alien. So what you've done is I think you've shifted and said, okay, we have a plaintiff that doesn't exist, the aliens, and now that lie is one thing. But in this case, we have a plaintiff that does exist, right? John Alien. And she's saying John Alien did this to me. And you're saying, well, we now know that's false. I think that's your defamation case. Now she can write about it 2 years later and all this other stuff, but the true fact that John Alien didn't abduct you, that's the defamatory part, because just like Johnny Depp saying, I didn't sexually assault her, John Alien didn't abduct her. I think that's the difference between the story that you're telling and what's happening in this case.
And if I could just add, I think that's because Joe, what you're making is a pure argument on the law, basically. I mean, that would be the argument that you make in a summary judgment motion. I mean, at this stage of the game, they survived it because, and I don't really, I don't have a huge background in this sort of defamation by implication, but it survived the summary judgment motion at this stage of the game.
Yeah, it has.
Right, but what I say to you is, it's not a technical argument. It's an argument. It's an argument based on truth. That every word of that article is true, even if her statements about domestic violence are a lie. That's the point.
I tend to agree that this is just a hyper technical argument, at least in my mind, because the problem is when you say like 2 years ago, I came out with sexual violence, or I spoke up against sexual violence. That has to change. If it can be read to be understood, what sexual violence? What sexual violence? If it can be understood to be Johnny Depp, then by saying that you're basically re-alleging the sexual violence by Johnny Depp, or it could be understood that way, at least.
Hold on.
I understand. I understand that, and I think that's where Johnny has to hang his hat. But like what I'm saying is, I don't think it's that technical an argument. I disagree with you as to the level of technicality. I don't think the jury's going to go that way, really, because I think she's so thoroughly unlikable, and he is so thoroughly likable. It's like you have such dichotomy of their personalities there on stage, where it's like I think juries go with lizard brain, and they tend to be like, all right, I really like this guy, and she smells like she's full of BS, so I'm giving him the award, and that's why I'm still very, very confident that he's going to win, and I think that's justice because I think she screwed up his life.
So let's do this. Let's get into that in 2 seconds. Let's do this. Let's finish because we have one more of these cross-examination. I mean, the last commandment to go through. Let's go through the last commandment. We'll enter super chats, and then we'll get into the technicals of the case, and then I'll close. I'm going to get out of here about like maybe 12:30. So let's do this. So this super chat we're going to take down first. Well, first we do Lauren Lumber. This is our boy Lauren Lumber. Well, how do you know he bit off the ear? Spit. He predicted it. Yeah, but that was great though. But that was a great illustration of the one question too many. So let's get to this last one. Do we agree with the 10 commandments of cross-examination? Here it is. Hold on. Last one.
Well, believe it or not, that's 9. We now come to the 10th and last. Save the point for such that the jury doesn't understand it while you're conducting the cross-examination. All the better that they don't understand it. You know why? You want them to remember. And what is the frame of mind best calculated to bring it about that the jury remembers? What? Unsatisfied curiosity. So long as in the summation you come back and satisfy their curiosity. You prepare. You concentrate with the zeal of a fanatic. You put everything else out of your mind, and you realize, after you analyze the case, that everything turns upon one witness. One witness will be called by the other side. But if by a skillful cross-examination, you can persuade the jury that that witness is not worth believing. You win. It's as easy as that. What kind of argument do you need? You need a simple argument, a tactful argument, an argument that respects the jury's intelligence. That argument is so subtle that as you stand there asking the questions in the courtroom, the jury is not going to understand that subtle argument, is not going to understand how clever you are being. And the temptation will be to extend the cross-examination so that the jury then and there understands what a bright boy or girl you are. Don't do it. Remember the 10th commandment. Save the point for summation.
All right, so here's a quick quiz.
Oh.
Which one of the following foods is absolutely
They gave us the quick ad. So save the point for summation. What do you guys think? Don't, but it seems to go with the don't go with the one question too many, because one question too many, that's the one that gets you in trouble. So it seems like the save it for summation is not violating that one question too many also. What do you guys think about the save it for summation?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, summation is the one time where it can't get away from you. You control that entirely.
Because you were looking at the birds in the trees. How come you know as
Hold
you
on. Let me see, because
extend the cross-examination?
he gives an
trial in the
example.
last 5 years, it would be the
Let's see if I
Washington,
can give this
D.C.
example.
Watergate case, the one where I'll tell you that though I no longer try cases.
All right, here it is. Here's an example he gives of that last one, so we can all get it, because I think they cut out the example, which I think is good. Here, let me stop screen sharing that one and start screen sharing this one. All right, so this is the full-length video, and this is his example of that last one question too many.
If I did and could have my choice of one trial in the last 5 years, it would be the Washington, D.C. Watergate case, the one where everybody's getting out of jail now, right? You know, Haldeman, Ehrlichman, Mitchell. I would want to prosecute that case. You know why? Not for Haldeman and Ehrlichman. They're sons of bitches and they admit to being sons of bitches. I don't care about that. It's John Mitchell I want.
He's like Amber Heard. He could change John Mitchell to Amber Heard.
Because he's a sanctimonious son of a bitch. Remember, with the wattles swinging back and forth? Right? He took the stand in that trial. He took the stand and he testified for 2.5 days on direct examination. I didn't know anything. If I'd known about it, I wouldn't have done it. I would never do such a thing. Butter wouldn't melt in my mouth. You know, that kind of thing. Ooh, do I want him? And I could get him, too. And this would be the cross-examination. Right after 2.5 days of direct, remember. I'd stand up. Say, John Mitchell, you were born on March 10th, 1912, weren't you? Yes. I have no further questions. And sit down. Got it? What's the jury saying to itself? What the hell?
I know where this is going.
What's going on? What's the point? What does it mean? The trial can continue, not for another year, for another 5 years. And I can stand up in summation 5 years later. And I can say to that jury, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I know it was 5 years ago. But do you remember my one question on cross-examination of John Mitchell? Did you understand what I was getting at? Well, let me tell you what I was getting at, and you tell them. And they're 6 inches off their chairs. They run into that jury room. That's all they can talk about. They come back in a few minutes. The verdict is the one you want. The money, yours. Fame, a household word. Power, they're already playing Hail to the Chief. Remember the 10th commandment.
So that's it. That's his example. Just save us summation. You get to believe his story. You would have had to be born yesterday. That was the end of it. That's why he asked him that question. To believe that, remember when I asked him that question because to believe his story, you would have had to be born yesterday. So that's why and he's right. Juries don't believe these long, drawn out 2-hour direct and cross. Like they're not gonna remember any of that stuff. Matter of fact, I don't remember the witnesses from last week, but you remember good particular moments. Like if I say the glove don't fit, right? Everybody in this room, everybody in this chat can finish that sentence because it's just a moment. It's easy to remember. What do you think, Joe? What do you think about Irving Younger?
I think that's it's a form of genius that he's displaying. It's a form of genius, and that's similar. By the way, to not tooting my own horn here, But when it came to the cross of Dr. Hughes, I said the one thing you should basically ask her is one question. You had how many cases with whatchamacallit? How many cases have you testified at? How many times have you testified on behalf of a woman who was abusive to a man?
You know the answer.
Yeah, you know the answer.
You know the answer is zero. They know her history.
You know the answer.
You know the answer is zero. And that's it. Don't ask anything more. Don't start saying you came to this and you didn't talk to Johnny, you whatever. It's like that's what she walked. You go then into the closing and you can just expound on that and say she walked in before she was even retained, knowing before she read a single file, she knew, just like every other case she ever testified at, that she was predetermined that Amber must be the victim because she's a woman and women tend to be weaker and they tend to be smaller. So the man must be abusive. When you have a bad relationship, there's domestic abuse, it's got to be that it's Johnny. And that's why she didn't even look through the file. She didn't bother filling out the boxes. If you look at the boxes, she didn't even fill out the boxes because it's like, of course, there's abuse in a relationship and a man and woman. Obviously, the man's hurting him, and everything, and boom, you're done with her, and you don't have to go through the whole thing, and that way, and it's much more powerful. You stand up there. She's on direct there for 4 hours, and you ask her 2 questions and sit down, say nothing further. Then everyone's like, wow, that's it. Like, it's just sort of that powerful thing. It doesn't leave that question hanging. I think they understand where you're going, most of them. Not all of them. Some of them are a little slower. They might not get it. But, the more intelligent ones.
Well, and that goes back to they let her sort of explain, and she brought up the prison incident, and you lose all of the punch of exactly what you're saying, Joe.
Oh yeah. You know, it's I always find it funny too. I think the most important thing about the last one, is the curiosity gap that he spoke about it when he talked about it. And what the curiosity gap is, you ask something and you leave it open. Like when you just ask the one question, I just have one question for you. You were born in blah, blah. That lets people want to know, why the hell did he ask that question? Why? And that's so easy to remember. And like you said, years from now, you'll be like, if he comes back and it's years and you're like, you remember the question? You remember when he was on cross, I only asked one question? Well, yeah, they're going to, because number one, it's something unique. It's something that they didn't expect. And it's something that's just going to be like, it's just like, why that question? And I think, and then you close the door in summation. This is the reason why I asked it.
I've been thinking about this for a little while now, and I'm going to quibble with this last question, this last point on this last commandment, because I'm not so sure. Because at least the way he phrases it, and maybe it's like the way he phrases it could be read to imply that you should never worry about making the point at all in cross. And I don't think that that's right, because if you have a lot of elements that you're getting from cross that you can use to construct your cross-examination and narrative at the end, but during the cross itself, you never show the jury why anything is important, I think you have the strong possibility of losing the jury during your cross examinations, because nothing is connecting during the cross. And you're now you're riding on your closing, bringing it all together when they may have already made a decision by that point, because none of your crosses, at least to their mind, have been effective. And so you're banking on this closing, doing a lot of work when the jury might have already been frustrated with you because they don't know why you're saying anything, you don't know what points you're making. And so I would agree to him to the extent that it's okay to not necessarily close a point, but the way he said it implied like, always make your point and close. I'm like, I don't know about that one.
I think, because and maybe this is why we should watch the whole thing. One of the things that it's kind of situationally based. If you have a witness that everybody knows is lying, then why would you do a 5-hour cross to keep pounding it in, right? It's like sometimes you just got it. So the less is more in that situation. Or if you're trying to now convince something that somebody's lying with some impeachment evidence, then you may be, I think, in a different level where you now have to kind of give them something where they can understand. So I think it all depends on the situation. Not every cross examination are you going in just with one question, but I think if you have something that's already been proven, like I think with Amber Heard, you can't go in there with just one question because she has so much you can go into. But if it was just if it was found that she was already totally shot and it was all totally over, and you believe and it was obvious that Joy knew she was lying, then I think a lot less is more in that situation, because only thing you can do is go in and hurt yourself at that time. I don't think you can go in and make any real gains. You know what I mean?
I'm not even sure his example is necessarily that great, because he's like, he wants to really get this guy, because he hates this guy. So I understand. He wants to convict this guy. And his hypothetical is, I'm going to go up there and ask him one question. And where is he born? And during close, I'm going to say, why did I bring that up? Because you'd have to be born yesterday. He's not, you weren't, you shouldn't believe him. Now, look, the jury might think that that's really clever. Or the jury might go, oh, what a dad joke, right? I don't know. I just think maybe he's relying on this kind of got you, curiosity, and the jury's going to just go, oh, that was such a good point, booyah. And I just think it's banking way too much on the jury's reaction in close. So I think I will quibble with Commandment 10.
I definitely know where you're coming from, Kurt. I think what he's sort of trying to rely on is this kind of like human nature aspect of like a dystonic chord progression. We're waiting for the resolution, and that captures people's attention. But I think maybe there's a little bit too much weight on that.
Yeah, and I think your example actually is pretty good, because I think dystonic chords, and you can have a similar issue in jazz where, and I've seen this actually done, at least to my own mind, where like the dystonic doesn't close fast enough. Like, because there's some period of time where like you're waiting for the close, and if it doesn't come, it can come too late. And I've seen this also in jazz. Like, I like improvisation in jazz as much as the next guy, but I've seen acts that are so improvised, like there's no connection and no theme. Like, it's not like I'm using some standard. By the time they're done with it, I don't know what kind of bass line we're using. We're just hyping all over the place. So like for me, it's like, you can leave the tension for a while, but I just don't think you can leave the tension forever. And he says, even 5 years later, I'm like,
You guys are so much more enlightened than I am. Because the first example I thought of is, if you prime the mare for too long, she looks for another stud. And you guys come with your dystonic chords and words. I never even heard the word dystonic before. I'm like sitting here, I'm like,
no, tonic, dystonic.
Major
fourth, major fifth, nothing.
I got to go to like that. I was like second tier. I had to go to law school to get dystonic. That was a good drop there, John. That was a very good drop.
Let me knock down some of these super chats. Hefty. If I were a juror, I would think damages came specifically from SA, not the verbal abuse. Do they have that ability to decide based on the defense of abuse? Yes. I think if the first title is in, yes, because they're going to be asked about each statement. So the first statement, second statement, third statement. So my prediction is that they're going to the abuse ones. They're going to probably give it to Amber, and the first one, if it's from what I'm believing, it's going to be endowed to Amber. I think they get on the first one. I think the jury's going to split the baby and say the abuse ones we're going to let go, but this sexual assault one, you've proven it's false, and Johnny Depp wins on that one. But again, that's just my personal opinion. What do you guys think?
Oh, I mean, I think that her team agrees with you, because they're going to go to hell and back try to keep that from being, her ratifying that title.
Non-lawyers probably wouldn't see the op-ed either way. That's true, but the people who needed to see it, which were the Hollywood elites, that's why she's being sued. The Hollywood elites, those people who pay the millions of dollars, they saw it, and that's why he couldn't work. Amber Heard said, 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. This makes it about JD. Yes, but that statement is about JD, and I think the whole article is about JD. So I don't think that whether it's about JD or I don't think that's really going to be an issue, because even with the I think the ACLU's testimony solidified it was about JD, and especially how before they had to take his name out of it, and then they thought it was, they were trying to make it so people didn't really realize it was him. So I think you have that in spades. I think it's going to be really hard for them to say that article wasn't about JD. Does any of you disagree with that?
No. Yeah, I don't think that's a winning argument.
Thank you for the super sticker for $1.99. Secret me. Amy says TMZ posted a photo of Amber Heard. They say JD team didn't allow the evidence. Is it legal to give court evidence into the public? Yes.
Sure.
Yes. It's not legal to go the other way. You can put whatever else you want. But if it's wrong or defamatory, you run a risk. Short and sweet, respect the jury's time. That's the reason why especially if I'm in there and we want to respect the jury's time. We want to make this short and sweet. The 10 Commandments video was very educational and will help us shape our expectations for Camille's cross. Thank you so much, Barry Light, for the $5. I'm glad you guys like it. We nerd out on this channel a lot, and we definitely nerded out with that one. All right, so before I let you guys go, I got one more video to show you. Now, I'm going to start doing a segment called Virals from Back in the Day. So these are viral videos that went to trial, and everything's been concluded, but since they've been this one you're about to see is about 10 years old. But what I want to ask is the legal question. So this is going to be the legal question behind it. First, do we see any unlawful activity? Who should go to jail? And why should they go to jail? So we're going to look at a situation that's just a limit, just for a minute, and see what we think should happen. And then I'll tell you what actually did happen. In the chat, you guys can play along. So this is a video from 10 years ago, and I'm calling it the Cleveland bus incident.
All right. Wait.
Now
I am intrigued, sir.
Now there is a trigger warning here. There's a little scuffle here. So if people don't like intergender violence and men and women wrestling around, be warned. There's a trigger warning here. So
it's fitting for the times we live in. So there you go.
But yeah, so I'm letting people know there is a trigger warning here. So here it is. Now this again. These people this has already been resolved, but 10 years later, I want to see if people have the same response to this viral moment that they did before. I've talked it up enough. Here we go. Oops. Why will you not let me screen share this easy? All right, here we go. This is from Cleveland.
Yeah, girl. Girl, the queue on the bus at the food. You and your bitch.
I bring my daughter up here and whoop your. I bring my granddaughter up here.
Okay, well bring them, nigga. Bring your mammy up here, bitch, and I'll beat her ass too. Oh shit, nigga, our dog got home too.
Look like somebody that slice your face up.
Oh, you motherfucker.
Your face up. Did somebody?
Oh,
you going to jail?
Okay, what's up, nigga? Let's go, nigga.
You going to jail?
Oh. Show it again. Show it again. Oh. Again.
Okay.
Again.
Okay.
Again.
You want to see that again?
Yes.
All right. So
I want to see that uppercut.
Just so we know what happened. She did hit the bus driver. The bus driver then gets up and he's upset. And then you see what happened. He throws her off the bus. Now, because Uncivil Law needs to see it again so we can slow it again, we will show it one more time. And I'm going to ask you guys again to just watch what happens. And yes, is this assault? Do we have self-defense? What do you think we have? And what do you think the court should do and the public should do? Should this even guy lose his job? Let's look at it one more time.
You don't see it. Well, there you go.
Yeah, girl. Girl, the queue on the bus at the food. You and your bitch.
I bring my daughter up here and whoop your. I bring my granddaughter up here.
Okay, well bring them, nigga. Bring your mammy up here, bitch, and I'll beat her ass too. Oh shit, nigga, our dog got home too, nigga.
Look like somebody that slice your face up.
Oh, you motherfucker.
Your face up. Did somebody?
You
going to jail?
Okay, what's
you
up,
going
nigga?
to jail?
Let's go, nigga.
You going to jail?
All right, so Uncivil, you saw it twice. You've seen the struggle.
I can be your hero, baby. I can wash away the tears. Oh,
so, this was
that's my assessment.
This was a viral moment for 10 years ago. So now, first things first, the charges. She was charged with assaulting a public official who's driving because he's he works for the government. She was charged
7 years in New York.
She was charged with assaulting the bus driver. The bus driver was also charged with assaulting this young woman and was subsequently fired from his job. He also pleaded, I think, no contest and was charged and was fined for his visual assault. But he believes, even till this day, he says that he was protecting himself and that his response was proportional to the assault upon him. So that is the way. Now, this woman still kept her job wherever she was working at, but obviously her reputation has been destroyed, and he's actually lost his job. He fought to try to get his job back, and he lost. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think these were the right rulings or the wrong rulings?
Just tell me again, were there convictions?
Yes, both of them were. Well, they were both convicted of assault.
Okay.
So what do you guys think about the outcome?
So
do you guys all right, first, for the woman who hit the bus driver,
It's clearly assault.
Do you think she should have gotten
Yeah,
charged
that's
with
easy.
That's easy.
bus driver? His response. Is that the thing that's got you guys caught up?
Yeah.
The bus driver.
Yeah.
Was his response self-defense?
Well, here's the argument for it. At least she had been talking quite a lot of smack, and she was assaulting him before ever hitting him, I would say, and then she hit him with the battery, and then the question is, for self-defense theory, like, is the threat still ongoing or is it over? And it's like, well, I don't know. She's been talking a lot of smack for a little while now, and she's definitely said she's willing to fight and throw down. So, and she just threw down. So I think there's a credible self-defense argument. It's technically non-lethal force. Also, it's hilarious.
Well, I would say one thing. Where's the imminent danger to the bus driver? Because she hits him and moves back. Where's the imminent threat to the bus driver at that time?
Oh, I'd say it's ongoing. That's the argument.
But he can't. It's not like he can retreat from the situation. I mean, she's literally between him and the exit of the bus. So maybe she hits him and takes a step back. Who's to say that she doesn't do it again?
So you guys would have been not guilty on this bus driver for assault?
I didn't think it's assault.
You didn't think the bus driver was assault?
I think what he did was assault.
Yeah, I think what the bus driver did was definitely assault.
He didn't. Yeah, I'll tell you this much. I think his fists is closer towards like a lethal force than hers. You saw the power of that uppercut. I mean, it's like basically like she had a knife and he escalated to like a gun.
You do realize those are both lethal force, right?
But with WGU, I can earn an accredited degree
That's
on
not how
my
the public
own
looks at it.
terms.
You're
can
right.
commercials. Yeah.
Stop being an attorney for a second.
No, I don't want
to.
You can't. That can't be the standard because it's a fist and a fist. I mean, short of like the Mike Tyson's punch is lethal.
But that's my point.
It's so
Hey,
hard
let me
to
ask you,
slice
do you
that
think-
scale.
You think Mike Tyson versus a midget, like if a midget punches him in the leg, that he would have the right to like line up and just like belt him back? Like I can't walk up to him like 10 seconds later and belt him back.
Well, no, see, this is the thing. Like the scenario matters. Like this would be Mike Tyson on the plane, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can't escape. He's not going anywhere. He can't leave. He's being trapped. So, the argument changes a lot. So, yeah, Mike Tyson, I think, could do it in this kind of scenario. The problem,
I think the second, like the Mike Tyson thing, the second he gets hit with the water bottle, you don't know that you get punched. I'm sorry. I don't
you
think that's
bought
the
a
problem.
ticket and you're taking a ride. That's the bus rules.
So, are you saying the zone of danger extends through the bus because he's trapped on the bus? I mean, what about the fact that she was like 10 feet away from him and he had to like get out of his chair and walk like
he wasn't 10 feet away. She was between him and any sort of escape.
Hold on. But before we argue this point, because I know you guys are in it.
I'm in it. I'm team bus driver over here.
First, let me just clear up any confusion about the rider who was uppercut. So this is the story after what happened after that.
Fight with a bus driver changed her plea this morning in a Shaker Heights courtroom. Shadea Lane switched her plea from not guilty to no contest. The infamous fight involving Lane and driver Artis Hughes last September was captured on cell phone video, and
She wasn't
that
that
video
far.
went viral.
She wasn't that far.
It's been very hard. I go through this every day. At my job, everybody knows me as the girl that was hit on the bus, and that just like ruined my whole reputation as far as a person. And I felt that was unfair. I'm going through this every day.
She's got a defamation claim.
Bullshit.
Her reputation's destroyed. She might be going after the bus driver for defamation.
Bullshit. Yeah,
you guys have no sympathy for this woman.
She started it. She started it.
You know, if you punch
It's
Mike
been a tough
Tyson, it's not going to be a good day for you.
Well, let me show you guys what happened to the bus driver. Here it is.
Yeah, show me the bus driver.
She started it. Here's the bus
4
driver.
weeks for Artis Hughes, a 25-year bus driver with the RTA.
Like a knife stabbing you in the heart, for something that you have done so long.
Hughes was fired Tuesday morning as a result of a viral video of him delivering an uppercut to a passenger back in September.
Like you throw out old rags, your old raggedy jeans that you throw out can't fit no more. That's the way I was. I'm no more used to it.
The video appears to show 25-year-old Shadia Lane spit and hit him first, which Lane denies. Hughes says it was self-defense. Agreements with his union because he's worried about his pension. He thinks the RTA should have handled the incident after he reported it back in September.
I got no problem with them talking about me, but when you put your hands on me, that's what makes the difference. That's what makes the difference. When you put your hand, no one should be able to put their hands on anyone.
In hindsight, would you have done it differently?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Like I said, but the old saying, hindsight is 20/20. Oh, I would have did it most definitely different.
All right. So Kurt, I know that's indulged you more to the bus driver now, right? He lost his job, pension's up for grabs, but you think he's an innocent man.
I think he deserves a goddamn medal.
What? Kurt, you're insane. So good logic. Bring us back to reality here. Obviously, there's a self-defense issue here, right? I honestly don't think he's self-defense here. That's why he pleaded guilty. He pleaded guilty and lost his job. What do you think, good Joe?
On that second angle, where I see how close she is to him, she looks much closer in that second angle. She lost me.
Yeah. Let me just walk you through the formal legal analysis so I can justify this on law, okay?
Give it to us.
So self-defense applies in the face of an imminent threat or an ongoing threat. In the response to non-lethal force, of course, you can only use non-lethal force. All right. So is this an imminent or ongoing threat? Well, as I mentioned, there were a bunch of the words. There were a whole bunch of threats that were being made by the woman, right? So then she hits him. At that point, it's an ongoing threat because she just hit him. That makes it ongoing. So the question is, at least legally to my mind, is the threat complete? That means, did it stop? And so now this is just revenge because you can't use self-defense and revenge. So to determine whether or not the threat has stopped and completed, I don't need to, determine whether it's complete, like let's look at the whole situation, right? The threats, the verbal threats. And right, she's backed up, but as we've noted, he's trapped because he's in the seat and whatever, right? So and she's already made all these threats about hitting him, so she's backed up for the moment. But I think there's a credible argument. It remains an ongoing threat, and therefore self-defense is warranted. How are you liking that argument?
I'm with you on that one, Kurt. And the reason is, again, where did she clearly disengage from the altercation? I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm thinking is if she's walking further down the bus and she's 3 or 4 seats down and no longer a threat, I think it's possible to make the claim that she's disengaging. Right. But and that's what I thought he had to walk further. But in the second video, it was clear that he took one step and he then took that swing. She's right there where she's like a threat to him, like in 2 seconds later, if he doesn't do anything. So I think that in Texas, there's no way he even gets charged.
And someone in chat pointed
Texas.
out that someone pointed out in chat that Branko would disagree with us all, in which of
Oh,
course
yeah.
he would, right? He was willing to split. He was willing to split that half second in the Kyle shooting incident. In
I was
Texas,
too.
right?
I
was like, I don't know, man. I'm not willing to split it that thin, Andrew. Sorry, man. It's like I'm not splitting it that thin.
Let me give you guys one more angle for this video.
Cartoon angle.
You need to turn the AC up in this little hot ass bus. You need to go on and do that, you little cheap ass. Man, you need to shut your little ugly ass up. Looking like somebody done threw acid on your face or some little ugly ass face. I know your old ass didn't just go there. Oh, hell to the fuck no. You going to jail now. You going to jail now. You going to jail. That's right. Here, get the hell up out my bus. And here, take your little cheap ass Salvation Army jacket with you. What y'all looking at? Look, if she gonna look and act like a man, then I'm gonna act like my name is Ken and uppercut the shit out that bitch. Excuse me, can you take me to 12th Street? Oh, you want to go to 12th Street? You going to 12 now? You going to 12 now?
Are we allowed to laugh at that in 2022?
We are sick people. We are sick people. So that's supposedly that is what. Those are the viral moments of last year. Now, I believe the bus driver, to be honest, now I'm with Joe. I believe the bus driver, I think the bus driver committed assault. I don't think that I'm not buying the self-defense claim. But I can see a jury. Joe's on their side. All right, so I'm against you guys on this. But I think proportionality is where this loses me. Because I think the bus driver definitely overreacted 110%. And I think that's why he was charged. And that's why I would definitely not want him working for me anymore either, right? Now, God forbid,
that is where I started. That's where I
too,
started.
Right? So,
I started the whole
you,
proportionality that a punch from her is not the same thing like an uppercut from this dude.
Yeah.
So
I just think proportional is just a little strange.
What was the appropriate amount of force for him to use in that circumstance?
Whoever arms to throw her off.
Well, I would say
say, get the hell off my bus.
Yeah, I would say first asking. I'm like, it's time for you to get off the bus. You can't hit me. Maybe call the authorities. Now, if she advances to you again, maybe you got something else. But I think just touching him and moving away, an uppercut is just too much. And I don't even care about the gender. That could have been a boy, girl. It doesn't matter. But I think the uppercut was too much. If somebody pushes you, you can't just uppercut them. Like that was a serious uppercut. Let's be honest. That was like full-fledged. She didn't expect that at all.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I agree about the proportionality element, because if someone is assaulting me and physically battering me, I mean, presumably I have a right to try to end the fight.
But
and so, like, I shouldn't be limited just pushing them back or just slapping them back. But if I can end the fight by giving a quick.
But somebody pushes and spits on you and backs up. That now gives you that backing up. I think.
Normally, I'd agree with you, but then again, the situation is because he's constrained in that corner of the bus. He has nowhere to go.
I'm not sure that her backing up is a clear disengagement.
Yeah.
Fair point. Well, you see, we still disagree with it now. 10 years later.
10 years later, we disagree with it.
We still disagree with it now.
I'm going to find that guy and issue him an apology. I'm sorry all this bad stuff happened to you.
Both of them were.
I'm gonna have a goddamn fundraiser on my channel, and all the super chats go to this guy.
Damn, you really feel sorry for the poor guy. Oh man. Well, so that's next thing we're gonna be looking at old viral videos and seeing if the law got it right. I think the law got it right for both sides. You guys obviously think the law didn't get it right for the bus driver. What about his job? You guys at least think he should have been reprimanded, or what about for the job?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean,
I'm okay with the job.
All right.
I don't know. I think they made a point that he was worried about losing his pension. I don't know if it rises to the level of, if he was eligible for a pension.
Well, he lost his job.
Take that away.
He did lose his job. So I think that was just about whether if he loses his job and loses his pension or whatever. I remember what happened with what's the FBI guy that it happened to, where they fired him like a week before he was supposed to collect his pension. Trump and fired him. Yeah.
And they fought that and he lost.
And he fought it and lost.
Was McCabe?
McCabe, yeah. If Amber Heard left out the 2 years ago, would Johnny still have a case? I think, yeah. because I think the problem was it's defamation by implication. So reading that thing, everybody knew it was about Johnny Depp, and they wrote it in a way to allude to that. So I think the 2 years doesn't really make or break it. I think if when you write something, defamation by implication, you don't have to name me, but if we all know who you're talking about, you've defamed me.
Well,
You
who
guys
else
have
could
an
she
issue?
possibly been talking about?
Yeah. That essentially is where we're at there. R&M for $9. Jay Stud bring his post-nup attorney to refute A's claim that Australia fight started because she contacted an attorney regarding post-nup and he freaked. Discredit her reason why Australia fight started, discredit her entire story. Interesting tactic, but I think Camille, listen, one thing I think a lot of people don't understand, especially the Camille who's going to cross. She's been probably living with this case for 4 or 5 years. She knows every fact inside and out. She knows when she says something like she can recite all of it. So I'm assuming she knows exactly what's happening up there. And that's what we were saying yesterday, where this could have been a bad thing for Amber Heard, this break. And the reason why I'll say that is that the defense's strategy was, let's put Amber on as a sympathetic witness and get her to have that big moment at the end at the 5:30 mark, right? Here's the pictures of my abuse, and let the jury go away thinking that for 2 weeks, right? So that's in their mind. We just saw these pictures of her being abused. That was their plan. But by having her testify for 2 days, the problem is that she testified to a whole bunch of nonsense. Now, usually, you would say, all right, it's over, and then the next party gets up in that same day, right? So you might have lunch to find out anything. Now you've got 10 days, and you got her testifying, and now you got 10 days to look at everything, to go through everything, and they've done it with a fine-tooth comb. And now you can start impeaching her, not based on things she said before, but things that she said right there on the stand, because now you have such a better, you don't think they have all their whole legal team? She said this, pull up the transcript. She said, we're going to refute everything. So I think in that sense, because she's made such crazy stories up, and because we have 10 days, I think she's going to go into the cross-examination from hell from the things that we've been able to pull up on YouTube, and we're not even getting paid for the case. The line of stuff we're able to pull up is crazy. Just imagine what they know, the people who've lived with the case for years.
Yeah, I think that giving the so much time, it's also, I think it's galvanized public opinion. It's given us a time for public opinion to sort of just do nothing but talk about the case, and it's galvanized. And this is not anything that Amber Heard's team could have controlled. I mean, I guess her testimony beforehand. Yeah, her testimony beforehand is partly what galvanized. So if they held off on bringing her in here until after the break, in that case, we wouldn't have so many people on both sides of the political aisle basically saying she's a lying, useless piece of trash. I never expected so many people, some of my friends on the left, to flip over and abandon the queen of Me Too and basically recognize that she has just been telling, that they were basically deceived by her lies, and they were, regurgitating, punishing him for nothing. And it seems I can't find people. It's hard to find people who basically are still believing in her, and perhaps they don't get at least to the left, which is it's really all she cares about. She cares about Hollywood. She cares about those types. That's that's the arena she wants to swim in. Perhaps if she doesn't testify beforehand, it's almost like there's a fear. I feel like when I'm talking to people on the left, there's a fear of like, can I turn on her? I don't know. She's the queen. Can I turn her? Now it's like there's a peer pressure to sort of just keep going with it. It's like, no, we still believe her. Maybe we still believe her. And I think that giving them a chance to sort of galvanize together and sort of talk amongst themselves and say, this doesn't add up, has really hurt her. And if she doesn't testify, perhaps that doesn't happen. So I think that on the stage of court opinion, of public opinion, that I think that it was perhaps really a tragic mistake for her. I mean, a great mistake for Johnny, but a tragic mistake by her team.
Mary says, but doesn't there have to be malice for defamation? That's only if we're talking about a public figure or a public official. For regular people, the standard would be negligence. There's a negligence standard when it comes to defamation. Travis G says, couple minutes for $20, couple minutes behind. But if you do number 10, but if you do number 10 to me while I'm on the jury, I'm effing hating you. Great show. Just like a civil law said.
Yeah, I'm not,
Natasha,
I'm not sold on 10. I'll give him 9 out of 10. 9 were great.
9 out of 10. That's the rating. We'll give him 9 out of 10. I think the first couple of ones, I think the first 5 are like the best. Natasha says the immediate threat would be for people on the bus. The immediate threat would be for people on the bus. One could argue he was defending everyone on the bus. That's an argument. She asked for it. She got it. He deserved to lose his job. I think it was a fair decision. Okay, so this is somebody who actually agrees with the whole lose his job. But also, what about he pleaded guilty to assault, so misdemeanor assault. So that also happened too. Tiger uppercut, Daniel says. Yeah, that was definitely a tiger uppercut. I don't know if you guys play Street Fighter 2. Midnight Joker says she's not between him and the door. She's not between him and the door. He has an escape path. I don't know. I'm watching that video. I didn't see any escape path. She was pretty much. Yeah, he had to kind of. Yeah, there was no escape. And the Amber Heard and JD Street Fighter video game AD character can only slap and punch, while JD character can only run away and protect his face. $5 from Paul Pace. So at the end of the day, so we've seen the video, we've played objections, and we've answered super chats. I am about to get out of here. I want to see if my guests have any last words before we make this move. What's up?
Before we make this move, if you're looking in private chat, I sent you a link. I'm starting a stream up in 15 minutes.
I don't see the link in private chat.
I do not see the link.
Yeah, me neither.
So not so much with sending the link in private chat.
Now
there you go.
Yeah.
All right, there it is. Got it.
That's a YouTube link.
I got it sent. Yeah, that's what you put in there. You put in a YouTube link to link his audience to come over.
I thought you were providing a link for us to join. So
I can provide that too.
I know. Where do I put this at?
Okay, so you have to go into the stream setting.
Yeah.
Go into the studio. It's not that hard. You go into
Hold
the
on.
studio.
Let me go to studio.
But he has to enable it too in the back end. He has to enable your ability to redirect. You have to enable it in your redirect.
I enabled anyone who I follow.
That doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
No, you have to do it manually.
So do you know where I go to do that?
Yeah, it's on the same page where it says allow all people who you're subscribed to. Mm-hmm. And then there's one that says allow specifically these people where you type them in. You need to copy, paste Nate's channel URL and put it into the manual box and then hit approve.
It's in the community thing, right?
Yeah.
Look at you knowing everything.
Well, I know this because of my problems with you.
Yeah.
Because of the problems I had with you earlier. Because I obviously had the box checked and that worked for shit. So then I had to put you in manually and that worked. That was part of the part of the problem.
It ultimately worked for you though.
It did ultimately work, at least somewhat. I'm not sure how many people it sent over, but some people. So
it's a really interesting feature.
Let me.
I got him.
I'm gonna knock down a couple of these super chats, and then I'll take care of that because we got some more coming in. Here it is. Eleanor says, when more than 90% of everyone believes JD, this is not about left and right. That's true. I've seen both left and right not believe her. Please quit making it political. She's a liar, and most people can tell. That's true. Most people, left and right. Like even yesterday, we saw the woman. She says, I generally believe all women, but I don't believe her. It's like I think this crosses the political spectrum.
That was my point.
At least when I say left and right in this context, I'm talking about the Me Too movement as a generalized concept. The left in general over the last couple of years has been believe all women, and every woman has a story and they're all abusers and all the rest of it. So like, I'm as thrilled as anyone that the people on the left seem to be saying, oh yeah, maybe not believe all women now. But I'm not going to let you off the hook that easily and be like, oh, you realize what we were trying to tell you for the last couple of years. Maybe some women lie. Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's believe all women, but not monsters.
Well, Chris Baker says, happy message. Graduation Saturday starting from AGED to JD. Congratulations, Chris Baker. Congratulations. When anyone says that
congratulations, you made a terrible decision.
Uppercut them like a bus driver. Chris, hey, congratulations on your journey. GED to JD is an amazing thing, and I know you must be proud. Good luck. Welcome to the war. Welcome to the war. And can Amber Heard appeal if she loses, or can only JD appeal? They both can appeal if they lose.
Yeah. They have to
Because
find a
they both
legal
have-
error, and good luck.
Yeah. So, but yes, and congratulations, and Chris, good luck, because the good stuff starts now. I was late to law school too. All right, so with that said, let me try to see if I can get you guys over to Joe's. I'm in the back end, Joe. What do I need to do?
So where you see where where you change the subscribers, like this is like the talk only mode, that click.
Oh.
So I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. You know where you go into the edit, and then scroll down, and you'll see a button that says redirect.
Then you have to go edit customization, edit customization, and then you scroll down, and there's a thing that says redirect. Then you put add. Then you have to put the URL that Joe gave you for the YouTube in the box. And
so you guys are gonna have to fill some dead air while I do this.
Yes, it is not as easy as it is on Twitch. Where Twitch, you can just I think you just type like raid asterisk or some asterisk raid, and it just automatically, or exclamation raid, it just automatically does it. YouTube requires many steps.
So you guys answer super chats while
for sure.
while I do the back.
I'll do it.
On it.
Go ahead.
All right. Hey, Nate, I can't tell your political stance. When it comes to legal opinion, I like thinking the arguments are politically neutral. Well, as to legal arguments, yes, and I make a point of that on my own channel, as I just did, like for the Roe versus Wade analysis, like just a straight up legal analysis. So, I appreciate that too. But thank you.
But he's talking to Nate. But otherwise, I like how you read it as yours.
Yeah, exactly. Well done.
What do you want me to do?
He said, "Hey Nate." He said, "Hey Nate."
What do you want me to do? I'm the one reading the super chats. I'm trying to respond to it with some sort of meaningful commentary.
I like it. I like it. Look, I'm just gonna buzz your balls there, brother. You know that.
All right. So hold on. So just because I need the tech support. So it says redirect, add, right? So it says add other so I have the
now
URL.
you click my link, and it's gotta go to the other, not in yours. But
I got it. Yes.
Yeah, you got to copy paste the link, and hopefully it will show up. And if not, then Joe screwed it up.
Joe, it's not showing up, Joe.
That's unfortunate.
Did you add him as manually in there?
Yeah, I did.
Do you want to double check it? Make sure it's the right channel? Because I had that happen to me with random other channels not showing up.
I go to my community tab.
All right.
I go to my community tab, and I scroll down, and I see Nate the Lawyer and Laidback News as my two people who can redirect to my channel.
Okay. Well, in that case, got nothing.
And I have blocked words, and the only blocked words I have here is a word that starts with N.
All right, I put it in, but it's nothing's coming up. It's like done.
All right, instead of putting the URL, just try to type his channel name, Good Logic, and see if that pops up.
Let me see if it pops up in Good Logic. Good. Nothing. It's I typed in a full name. Nothing's coming up. Maybe I have to add. Let me try add.
No, you know what it is? I think you have to allow people who follow you to maybe redirect. I think I had to do that too. So.
You know what?
All right. Look.
I think you might have to check the box too.
You might have to check the box.
Let me work off stream and start to set this up.
Yeah. I apologize to the stream. We're trying to figure this out so that we can do it like easily, and like you wouldn't even know what's happening. Backstage.
We're all struggling with this new YouTube feature, which isn't quite really working. It's also extremely cumbersome.
It's a week or two old, so we're still trying to figure it out. We apologize. It's totally my fault.
And
I'm enjoying the chaos.
And for those of you who don't know, this is Eric Hunley who gave us $4. Check out and Eric. This is our new channel. So the video that you just saw with the uppercut bus driver. We review all those old videos and hot topics like that, especially a lot of viral videos, and to give our take about, whether we think that it's the way it was decided back then is the way it should have been decided now, or how sentiment would feel. Like before, 10 years ago, that video went viral, but now that video, it's going to be a lot less, I'll say, in common parlance because of the gender pieces. Now, people are arguing, oh my God, there's a man assaulting a woman, so now something that people found funny and humorous before is now something that people found to be cancelable. So has things changed that much within 10 years? So that type of thing. So that's what we do on the channel, and hopefully you guys come by. It's really all just fun, and it's two or three guys talking trap. So please go check it out. Nate and Eric, link is in the description. But with that said, Good Logic is going live when
12:30, like in 8 minutes.
In 8 minutes, Alita is live now, so I think people are going to be
she sent out
joining
a
her.
link?
Yeah, she's live now. So Alita's
All
Legal
right,
Bites
try
is
to
live
float in
now.
between.
Joe is at 12:30, and I am going to go and do some other things that I have to do for tomorrow. But with that said, if you're new here, don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Thanks again for doing all that great YouTube stuff. And I'm Nate the Lawyer. For John, for Uncivil, and for Joe, I'm Nate the Lawyer, and we're out of here. Peace.
Godspeed.
Peace.